College game day was going to make their way here. The energy is ridiculous on this campus, and for good reason, because they quite literally picked up a 3-9 football team with a head coach from James Madison and a bunch of JMU transfers. About 30 transfers come over, nearly 15 of them are starting, and they're already this good. It's something to really keep your eye on because it's not just a Cinderella story. This team is competing, and we'll see how they do next week against Washington.
All right, now I'm being told, Casey, that the monologue did not have the mic on. Is that true? I'm reading that in the chat.
It was recorded. I don't know what happened there.
Okay. All right.
We have sound now.
Most of what, just for everybody to understand, what I said in the opening monologue was I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of the game yesterday because I was traveling back from Oregon and couldn't get it on that in-flight, whatever it is, Wi-Fi. Not that game anyway. And that, look, we said last week, okay, how tough division games were, and they really are tough. I mean, in any division. They know you, you know them. It's not like you step out once every 3 years like they're going to do this week and play Philadelphia. It's tough to win. And the Browns are bad. I get it. For the life of me, and I know it's not a majority, and it was a big story in Cleveland after the game, but those fans who were cheering Deshaun Watson's injury is just appalling. I mean, the guy's been terrible. There's no doubt about that. His off-the-field stuff, everything. But how do you cheer somebody getting hurt? He's out for the year, by the way. Tore his Achilles tendon. But the Bengals win. It wasn't pretty. Casey, we'll get to your thoughts here in a second. Luke, what did you think about the Bengals? Again, I go by stats. I go by numbers. First half, offense is 0 for 6 on third down. They had fewer than 90 yards of offense in the first half. The Browns' defense is good. It ain't that good. This offense didn't show up ready to play again.
I think that was the worst 7-week stretch that we've seen as Cincinnati Bengals fans, and they finished 3-4. That's what I'm taking out of it.
All right.
I really wasn't pleased with yesterday from the offensive perspective in the first half. That's a game where if Charlie Jones is going to run back the opening kick for you, you have to give him something. You have to build off that. The defense is already on their heels, and they haven't even taken the field. From a defensive perspective, yet again, another atrocious offense. It was the Giants 2 weeks ago. It was the Browns yesterday on Sunday. I mean, these are two of the worst offenses maybe of all time. And that kind of segues me into this thing I wanted to talk about, and I'll ask you guys about it. Is the product in the NFL different, in your opinion, this year? Because for some reason, I feel like for the entire 60-minute football game, there's very limited consistencies. There's very limited high-level plays. I feel like the best teams in the NFL right now are just exploiting matchups, and it's so analytical and X's and O's with all these videos and things to look at that they literally just zone in on certain matchups. But nonetheless, the Bengals were the more talented team yesterday, therefore they won. I don't really have too many takeaways, though. I think the defense played good. I want to see the defense show up and play good against a good opponent, and they have a chance to do it next week.
How good is Philadelphia? All year long, they have been mediocre at best. I mean, that's what they've been. There were people before the game yesterday, stories I read, that they were talking about Sirianni's job. Would it be on the line? Incredible motivation, clearly, for Saquon Barkley yesterday. Going back to the Giants. Much was made about all that. What's the show they do? Hard Knocks, right? That whole thing. And that's the kind of play Barkley should have every week. He's that talented when he's healthy. In my opinion, when he's healthy, he is the best running back in the NFL. He can run it. He can catch it. He is dynamic. He's powerful. He's fast. On a run yesterday, they had him as the second fastest clocked player on an NFL field in a single run this season. So he's coming into town. But, Casey, your thoughts about the Bengalis? I mean, you have really been pretty down in the dumps, and here they've won 2 in a row, although you are wearing all your Bengals gear today.
Yeah, I mean, I said this in the Chatterbox Bengals chat. I'm going to celebrate because it was a season-saving win, I guess is how I would describe it. If they lost that game, the season's over.
Yeah.
Now the season's still alive. They got to keep winning ball games to keep the season alive. But that was a huge win. They hadn't won in Cleveland in the Zach Taylor era, which is just wild to me to think about since 2017. The quarterback was Deshaun Kaiser. That's crazy. It's absolutely insane that it's been that long. So I'm very thankful for the win. A win's a win in the NFL, no matter how you slice it. But I just can't get super high about this team right now. They just look so inconsistent. And when we talk about teams that are super inconsistent, usually that follows up with they're not a very good football team. And that's what the Bengals are right now. They're still not a very good football team. And that worries me that we're 7 weeks into the season and we still look like we're lost out there. I think usually by this point, a Bengals team led by Burrow and company, they start to figure it out. They start to look like they're rolling. I remember last year, we beat the Bills, we beat the 49ers. We looked like we were the best team in the NFL. We didn't have the best record in the NFL, but we were rolling. We're not at that point yet. And we're going to be facing the Eagles, who just rushed for over 200-something yards, 269 yards on the Giants. They were able to sack Daniel Jones and Drew Lock 8 times. And with the injuries that we just sustained on the offensive line, at some point, you got to just figure it out, right? At some point, you got to look like a competent football team.
I just don't understand how their offense, and look, we killed the defense, rightfully so, the first 5 weeks of the season. Now, the last couple of weeks, the defense has been pretty good, really good. You can say that, they've played bad offenses. You'd be right on that. I mean, they haven't beaten a team with a winning record. But the bottom line is, like I said, they won the game yesterday. But, Luke, I'm just having a hard time figuring it out. I gave up the stats earlier. And, again, I'm acknowledging that I didn't watch it. I couldn't watch it. I didn't have a choice. I just don't understand how the offense can play an entire half of football. Okay, it wasn't like elements were involved here. We didn't have rain. We didn't have snow. We didn't have any of this stuff going on. You've got everybody healthy. Everybody. Higgins is back playing great. You got Chase. You got Chase Brown. It looks like he's really got a chance to be a stud. You got the offensive line healthy to start the game. Brown did get hurt, but after the game said, I'll be okay. We'll see. Same with Geno Stone, late injury. But I just don't understand how they can have 87 yards of offense in the first half of a game.
We lost your sound there, Luke.
We lost your sound here, Luke. Did you turn yourself off?
It really doesn't make any sense.
No.
It starts to make you wonder because this team is capable of scoring north of 35 points against the Baltimore Ravens defense, which has proven to be extremely hard to even sustain a long drive against. So the inconsistencies are glaring. But the thing is, yesterday there wasn't really consistency at all, but the Bengals finally swallowed the pill of trying to do too much offensively and said, we're going to use Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and instead of trying to beat them over the top for 35, 40 yards against that really strong secondary and allow Joe to get beat up and pressured, we're just going to find those guys coming over the middle. And it was dink and dunk. It was easy. I loved the Higgins touchdown. I think that's a concept they should do more often. But nonetheless, they won. 21-14, it has to be better than that. And the only issue is that they're not going to be able to really make a statement until that first week of November when they play the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. Because if you look at the schedule, it's like, okay, if the Bengals beat the Eagles, do we really think the Bengals are going to beat the Eagles in some crazy game? The Eagles haven't scored a point in the first quarter this entire season.
Yeah.
They just beat the Giants, and they look like the best team in the NFL. I mean, heck, the Bengals got tested about 20 times harder by the New York Giants at MetLife too than the Eagles just did. Somehow the Bengals are field goal favorites, probably because they're at home. But what I'm looking at is I don't care how these wins are going to come. Pick them up, stack them. In the NFL, it's not easy to win 3 of 4 games. Now you got to go lock in at home, win 4 of 5, and you have another test against a kind of mediocre to bottom tier team before you really make the statement. I'd rather them not make the statement all the way until the last week of the regular season if we're battling for the playoff spot. We know how this team is. I hate talking about the inconsistencies because sometimes it's the inconsistencies that lead this team to really great things because nobody knows how to guard them when one game they're awful offensively and in the rushing attack, and then the next game they're the best team in the NFL. So I really can't make a comment on it. But yes, it is the most inconsistent offense I've ever followed in the NFL.
Everett Henry brings up a great chat point here. Says, look, yesterday was only the second time the Eagles have scored over 20 points in a game this entire season. So, Everett, thank you for that. Just reading something here. Yeah, Ian, we know the Eagles blew out the Giants. We'll see about that, all that. But, Casey, I think you hit on a great point. And, look, we're going to get to our picks here, by the way, on Monday and see how we did over the weekend before Luke goes off the class. So we'll get to that here in just a second. But Casey, I think you make a great point about and Jason Williams wrote about this in the Enquirer today. And I think it really is true, exactly what you said. It's just hard to get excited or what to think about this team. It's really, really hard. There's a part of you who wants to say some of the things that Luke was just saying. I've said, they got to win. Yeah, they've won 3 out of the last 4, right? After starting the season 0-3. Okay? Yeah, we've seen the defense get better the last couple. Yeah, but then you keep saying, but, ... right? They haven't beaten anybody any good. And they've lost to some bad teams. And you just sit there, or a bad team, not bad teams, plural, because Washington's turned out to be 5-2, and they've lost to the Ravens and the Chiefs. Not the Chiefs. Who was the second loss?
Buccaneers.
What's that?
It was the Buccaneers.
Buccaneers. No, I'm saying the Bengals. Their other loss.
Oh, it was the Patriots and the Commanders.
So, we'll see. But it's just hard to get excited about them. And I think, Luke, you're right. I think it's hard to get excited about the NFL right now, which is really weird. Because if you look at the marquee game yesterday in the NFL, ironically, the same thing held true in college football over the weekend. The biggest game of the year was a total clunker. What, Mahomes throws 2 or 3 more interceptions yesterday?
Yeah.
Without a touchdown. He's thrown more interceptions than touchdowns so far this season. Now, you say, well, who gives a damn? They're undefeated. That's true. 49ers were hurt, they were sick, and they looked sick. Purdy looked terrible. They didn't have McCaffrey. They didn't have a bunch of guys, a couple other guys, Debo and Ayuk, either sick or injured. So you got to give him a little rope there. But he throws 3 picks. Purdy does. It was terrible. But I'm just having a hard time getting excited about where the Bengals are going, even though I keep telling myself, Casey and Luke, I want to get excited. I do. You guys beat me down for being hard on the Bengals. I root for them just like you two guys do.
Yeah, I mean, I think I struggle with the teams right now because they're scoring points, but the offense across the league is just at an all-time low. There was a quarterback that threw for 114 yards and won. And that was the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Matthew Stafford, 154 yards and beat the Raiders 20-15. I mean, like, there's just like it's just a weird year in terms of NFL offenses this year. They're winning ball games, but they're just ugly, I would say. And defense is really just caught up in the NFL, I think. It's time for a new adaptation for NFL offenses, and they just haven't figured it out yet. But they will, and it'll get back to being more explosive, and it'll be more of a easier product to watch and enjoy.
Okay.
I do think. But
All right. Let's get to our anything else. Casey, you and I can get into the rest of the league a little bit later. Luke, anything else catch your eye around the NFL that we should address before we get to our picks? Anything for you?
No, not really. I think to Casey's point, I don't really know what the league, the direction that they're going in right now. It feels like the explosive plays have certainly been limited, and you have to credit defenses for that. I know there's been a lot of talk about the too high safeties and stuff like that, where NFL defenses are just really strict about not giving up the big play anymore. But I've been an NFL guy my entire life through and through. And you could talk to me until I'm cross-eyed about how college football is a better sport. It's more entertaining. And I would have wholeheartedly disagreed with you. And I still do. But this year, I feel like watching college football has been consistently more fun. And there's so much diversity between the games where if you had this weekend, and yes, Texas, Georgia wasn't the greatest game in the world, but you're coming right off a game of Tennessee, Alabama that came down to the last couple of minutes. There's just so many different good games on every week that the product really is there one way or the other, whether it's the marquee game. The NFL, the bottom half is so bad. The bottom 15 teams are just so bad. And the Bengals aren't even one of those, by the way. In most power rankings, people have the Bengals right there from 14 to 17. So the fact that we're talking about our team right now, who's in the middle of the pack and went on a awful back-to-back game losing streak against two teams that they were over touchdown favorites of, that's just something with the league right now, and maybe that's how it is, and it's going to be an ugly product, because I'd love to be a Chiefs fan right now and say that we're undefeated, and they're really not playing a heck of a lot that better than some of these other teams in the middle of the pack.
All right, let's get to our picks, because I think a lot of us had good weekends last weekend.
Well, not me, but you guys certainly did.
Where are we in the standings, by the way? Do we know yet? We got to tab that up for Thursday before we do our next round of picks.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Because I got a feeling somebody's kicking tail and taking names. I'm not sure who that is, but I have a feeling.
I think you would be right.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Indiana was a 6.5-point favorite. That was a massacre. Casey, you had the brilliance of picking Nebraska in that game.
Yeah, this was a pick to try to make up some ground. Boy, do I look stupid now.
That's okay. The one caveat in that game you got to hope for, I read an article about it this morning. They're not giving a lot of info, but the former Mid-American Conference Player of the Year from Ohio University, who has been one of the best quarterbacks in college football this year. I would make the case that you could say him and Dylan Gabriel would share the honor of Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year so far this season, and that's Curtis Rourke. He had a thumb injury, his throwing hand. In the game the other day, the backup looked good, but there's a reason he's a backup. Indiana's got Washington this week. Game already sold out. All right, we move on. Luke gets a win. I get a win. We got Arizona State. Wait a minute. Luke, you got the dub there. Who lost there?
It looks like your favorite producer took the L again.
All right, Luke, we're both 2-0. We're both 2-0, and I think you're going to be the tiebreaker, though, here, where Luke picks one up and I lose. Casey gets his first win. You lose again, Casey. I'm sorry. Luke, I can't believe you picked against your old man's alma mater, but you've done it to your mom already this year.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a straightforward pick. Always taking Miami of Ohio there. That was an easy one, so I'll take my 3-0 start this week.
That's got to be the first time in decades Miami in back-to-back years has beaten Ohio University in football. That's not a stretch. All right.
This one was easy.
You know, I just can't believe, in case you and I'll get into this after Luke leaves, I just cannot believe how bad this game was.
Oh, it was horrible.
I mean, Carson Beck is a pick machine. He throws three more. They bench Quinn Ewers. Sarkisian does. Puts in Manning. He goes 6 plays, punt. Next series, fumble. They put Ewers back in. Ewers did, okay the rest of the way, but golly day. Texas just looked absolutely brutal, and their fans looked even worse. All right, on to the pro game before Luke's got to go to class. He's got 2 minutes. There we go. I was a dummy in that one. I said the Bengals would win and the Browns would cover. I lose.
Well, to be fair, I guess both teams missed a field goal. So
okay, well, still. All right. Oh boy,
Tom.
Luke. What about your guy Sam Darnold?
That's my first loser. I was pretty confident about this one just because of the line. I think that the Lions are easily the better football team. But considering Minnesota was favored, I was like, why not ride the undefeated team? They go up 10-0. And the Lions, something to look out for with Detroit is when they score their next two possessions every single time. It's actually insane. They got in no rhythm in the first half. Goff was turning the ball over, looked awful. And the second they hit a big one, the Lions take off. They end up letting Minnesota back in it. But this was a tough one to lose. Good pick, Dad.
I got to tell you, the Detroit Lions look really good to me. Is he leaving? Did he just say he's got to leave?
No.
He disappeared. All right, what's next?
I've
lost once. Luke's lost once. And now Luke has lost twice.
Yeah, this was another really good NFL matchup. Almost had a little bit of Texas and Georgia in it. If anyone understands where I'm coming from, where it was like such a good matchup and so analytical, X's and O's, defenses played out of their minds, almost knew where the offenses were going, turnovers, picks, the game felt like it took forever. Just an ugly one, but the Chiefs win every ugly one. I have no idea how they're ever an underdog in any game. It's so stupid to pick against them.
It really is, and they're not playing that great. They really aren't. They've had a lot of very key injuries. Mahomes is not having in fact, he's having a less than average season. If you just look at his numbers across the board. But what happens? When they need him most, he'll make a play, they win a game, and now they're undefeated 6 weeks in. Is that it for the picks?
That's all for the picks.
Somebody had another big week. And, Luke, we got to let you run. I know you got class, big boy.
Yeah, I'll see you guys. Next week, we just keep grinding out Victory Mondays. We're going to stack them. We're going to be 500 if we beat the Eagles, and that's all I care about. You can have the picks for now. It's a very, very, very long season, man. I'm coming. I'm going to creep up through the back door at the end of this and sneak my way into the mix.
Surging and Casey's been fading. Luke, have a good day, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, love you, man. Have a good day. Luke and I were talking last night, and we're not going to spend any time on Indiana football, but I mean the mayhem at that school right now. And even the guys on Fox Noon Kickoff, they said it was the best crowd they've ever had.
Yeah.
I mean, man, to be young and to be going to a school where everybody waits around when school starts in the fall, everybody waits around for basketball season to start at Indiana, right?
Right.
And here you have an undefeated team that is just lighting it up. They have more trips inside the red zone than any school in the country by like 10. And they don't kick field goals. They put 50. Nebraska was a top 10 scoring defense this season in the country. And they put 56 on Nebraska. They've got Washington at home this week. Talked about game day coming there this week. That's so exciting for the students. I'm excited for Luke getting a chance to cover that team. And I tell you, that coach, man, puts some money where the mouth is. I don't know if I've been as impressed by a single coaching job, no matter what happens the rest of this year, that I have been from Curt Cignetti at Indiana. I mean, his famous line, man, a few words, I win, Google me.
I like that.
138-25 at 3 different smaller programs. And here he is at Indiana. And they're undefeated, ranked. It's a joke they're ranked 13th in the country. It's a joke. They should be at the top 9, top 10 teams in the country. Steve Ross reminds us their last unbeaten team was in 1968. They're not going to go undefeated.
No.
They got to play at Ohio State. But I tell you what, I mean, that's not like it used to be one of those you saw Indiana on the schedule, I just checked the box. That's a dub. That's not automatic this year. If that game were at Indiana, I'd say, hold on a minute. Game's in Columbus. We'll get to that point later. All right, elsewhere in the NFL, in the division, look out for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the men of aluminum. First start for Russell Wilson last night. He looked very shaky at the start. He bouncing a couple of throws, missed some big game. Then all of a sudden, wow, did he right the ship. 264 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also scored a touchdown in a rout of the Jets. Tonight, Baltimore travels to Tampa Bay. This should be a very good game. Tampa Bay's good. Steelers are 5-2. Ravens are 4-2. So the Ravens need to win to match up with Pittsburgh atop the division. Russell Wilson, I have no idea why people love beating this guy down. I don't understand it. And maybe somebody in the chat can tell me why. People beat this guy down. Steelers look like a different team.
They do.
They got it going on.
What they showed last night, and I know Sauce Gardner got banged up there midway through the game, and that kind of helped open up things for the Steelers. But what they showed last night is what made me afraid of them getting Russell Wilson. Russell was always really good at the bombs away, the sideline throws, the big throws, right? He wasn't really a methodical, the high percentage throws, right? He's going to beat you over the top. And with that, with the weapons he's got with Pickens and Freiermuth, he's able to do that. He's able to make those big throws, and it was phenomenal last night. It was just Pickens is somewhere down there, and he throws it up to him, and he catches the ball, and then he hits him again on that fade. Freiermuth is somewhere down there. He chucks it up to him. Calvin Austin, another big play. It was just big play after big play. And then that opened up things in their run game. It was pretty much non-existent in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, they started getting those big plays. The defense has to take steps back, and they just ground and pound it. So,
I mean, that was a tail kicking last night.
It was.
I mean, that looked like Steeler football of old. A lot of people around here don't want to hear that stuff. But that's what they were in the old days. Big plays on offense, right?
Yeah.
Hit the big one, start smashing you in the mouth on the ground, and their defense has been outstanding all year long. Mouse Cop says, hey, it's not that people are beating down Wilson. It's just more of Justin Fields didn't necessarily deserve to be benched. No, that part I got. I understand that part. If you're in Pittsburgh, you're winning games, why change it, right? They were 4-2 going into the game. Yeah. But I just mean Russell Wilson in general. I mean, this dude, there were some things going on with him having a quarterbacks coach in the building in Denver, but Denver allowed that to go on before Peyton got there. But as far as just a citizen is concerned, why would people beat down Wilson? And as a player is concerned, this guy's going to the Hall of Fame.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it. We sit around and we idolize some of these clowns who every time you turn around, if there's something going on, they're popping off in the media about this or unhappy about that. It's something off the field. It's whatever it is. And you get Russell Wilson, and people want to beat the guy down. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it either. I always thought that the team was more scary with Russell behind at quarterback than it was with Justin Fields. And to be honest with you, Tom, I think what the Steelers proved is that they can win with both quarterbacks. And that's a more scary thought than just saying that Russell's the answer. I think if there was something to happen with Russell, they can easily still go 9-8, 10-7, and make it into the playoffs with Justin Fields at quarterback. And now I'm more concerned with if they get more consistency from Russell, what does that team look like? It might be one of the better football teams in the NFL.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. It's going to be a good game tonight. I think the Buccaneers are a lot better than people think they are.
Oh, I love the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a nice team. And, again, Baker Mayfield. I mean, I just look at, you could sit here. We could spend days talking about what has happened to this Cleveland Browns franchise over the last 30 years and the last 10 years. They got to the playoffs last year, right? Blind squirrel and the acorn thing, right?
Yeah.
They had a nice year last year. they turn around and they let Joe Flacco walk out the door.
Yeah.
I mean, after the year before giving Deshaun Watson all that money, and nobody could have foreseen how bad he would turn out to be. And I want to take out the injury part of it because he's been terrible before the injury. We know that. One of the worst quarterbacks in the league. But just in the last 3 years, and I know there are some of you Browns fans here in the chat that have defended the organization's decision to let Baker Mayfield leave. Baker Mayfield played his entire final year in Cleveland with a separated shoulder. Not the throwing shoulder, but it was the other one. And he couldn't do a lot of things that he had done when he led him to the playoffs. Okay, so you let him go, or you let him go, fine. You bring in Watson, fine. Give him all the money. But then last year when Watson's hurt, you have a quarterback that takes you to the playoffs. I don't care if he's 140 years old. Flacco can still play. I think Indianapolis is making a bad decision here by benching Flacco and putting in Anthony Richardson. Now, they won yesterday, but Richardson looked terrible.
Yeah.
But again, that's another discussion for another day. This is a victory Monday for the Cincinnati Bengals. So they have the Eagles coming into town this Sunday. And let's get into our top 5, Casey.
Sounds good.
Our power rankings. We didn't get to this, but Luke, we have his picks. You want to start with your power 5?
Yeah, I can start
Let's
with
start with yours.
Okay.
And in the chat, give me yours.
Yeah,
Mark's here, Mouse Cop's here, everybody's here. Thousands, Mr. Mo. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I got my top 5 here on screen. Let me get this out of your way, Tom, so you can see it too. But I got Kansas City first. For obvious reasons, they're undefeated in the league right now. Until otherwise, I mean, the team just keeps winning football games, man. I don't care how bad Patrick Mahomes has looked. That defense is legit. I think everyone knows that. The roster itself, when Mahomes is struggling, the rest of them are able to pick up the rest of the slack.
Yep.
So I got to give it to Kansas City right now. Detroit, they're coming in at number 2.
Okay.
I think that the level that Jared Goff is playing at this very moment is at an MVP type level. He was blitzed, I think, 20-plus times this last game versus the Vikings, and he was like 16 of 18 and 115 yards and a touchdown, something like that. The other times that he was defended, he played phenomenally too. You can't blitz him. You can't just send 8 guys back and cover. He's just dicing up the league right now. That offense, phenomenal. I know that they lost Aiden Hutchinson, but they were still able to sack the quarterback 4 times. And the Vikings don't give up a whole lot of sacks. That offensive line's pretty good. So I give my hat to the Lions here. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, that offense, explosive. Defense, just good enough to get by. Green Bay, love Green Bay, love Jordan Love. I think he's a great mixture between Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre in terms of play style. Sometimes he just gets an urge to just go all out and make the big throw, and sometimes he's very methodical and dices you up. I really like what they got going on in Green Bay, and their defense is sneaky. It's sneaky good, and I've said that for a long time. They've got playmakers on every level of the football. They got a good defensive line. They got a good enough pass rush, good corner, solid corners. I really like Green Bay a lot. And then Houston. I think you look at their 2 losses, a 2-point loss to Green Bay. So
where C.J. Stroud did not throw for 100 yards. First time of any game in his career. He got beat up yesterday and did not look good.
Yeah, I didn't think they looked good yesterday.
No.
But the other loss was against the Vikings where they didn't look great at all, but they were without Joe Mixon. And I think it's a completely different game when you have Joe Mixon there.
Yes.
He's been phenomenal this year for them. I think that adds a little bit more juice to their run game. And I think that they are a completely different team with him in there. So I got them at number 5. It was really a toss-up between the Texans and the Bills because I think with Amari Cooper, that team is a little bit more.
Touchdown yesterday.
Yeah, he got a touchdown yesterday. I think that team's a little more explosive with Amari Cooper at the helm. Okay. So that's my top 5, Tom.
All right, I'm going to give you my top 5, and it's dramatically different than your top 5.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know how anybody can say right now, week in, week out, performing on offense, performing on defense, how anybody's better than the Lions. They are that good. And they look that good. They're throwing it. They're running it. They ran for over 5 yards per carry against Minnesota yesterday. I've never been a huge golf guy, but I got to tell you, he's starting to grow on me. And I just love their consistency. I mean, when Chris Spielman, my old broadcast partner, who's forgotten more football than all of us in this chat and in this room combined will ever know, when he tells me that Dan Campbell might be the best leader he's ever been around, that dude, I don't know if Campbell's great on all the X's and O's. I don't know. I'm not around that team enough. I don't know if his clock management stuff is the best. I don't know. I have no idea. What I know is those guys play for Dan Campbell. And he has them ready to play. That was a huge game yesterday.
Yeah.
Huge game. On the road, Minnesota's undefeated. That is a tough place to win, man. I've done a lot of games in that building. That is a hard place to win. And the Lions go in there and they get a win. I got Kansas City too, only because they're undefeated. Because they do not look like, when you watch them play outside of the Ravens game and the Bengals game, they don't look like the best team, second best team. I got Baltimore 3. I got Buffalo 4. And I think right now you had the Texans 5 and you had the Packers 4.
Yeah.
I think if the Steelers played either one of those teams right now, I think the Steelers would beat them. But maybe not.
I don't know. After last night, I sent that text midway through the game last night, right? I didn't fully watch the whole game before sending over my top 5. The way it looked, I'm going to just give it another week before I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Because it will be one of my greatest fears if Russell Wilson ends up being a little more consistent and he's doing the stuff that he did against the Jets. Jets are still a pretty good defense, even without Sauce Gardner. I know they're out without some of their guys, but still.
Jets are a mess.
Huh?
They are a mess.
Yeah, they're a mess, too.
I mean, my Lord, are they a mess. Gosh. Let's see. Mouse Cobb says Chiefs, Ravens, Buccaneers. I like the Buccaneers pick. I think they're good. We'll find out more about them tonight. Packers, Lions, Vikings ahead of the Texans. I'm not a big Vikings guy. Mr. Moe says Lions, Chiefs, Ravens, Packers, Vikings. Mark Fetter says Panthers, Patriots, Saints, Raiders, and Browns. Okay, so that's that. Anything else in the league catch your fancy before we get into a little college football and World Series talk?
Nothing as of this moment to report other than just if you're wanting to do the teams that need to lose for the Bengals to get into the wild card, none of those teams really lost yesterday. The Colts won. The Jets ended up losing the Steelers. We needed the Steelers to lose. Yeah, but I mean, all the Bengals
and the Chargers play tonight.
Yeah, the Chargers
There's
do play
two games tonight.
That's going to be huge for the Bengals. They need the Chargers to lose. Just to have a better chance of getting closer to the wild card spot.
And, of course, Everett has to take his weekly shot at me, which he does every single week, which I'm okay with. I can take the bullets. Me and Trump, we can take the bullets, right? Fight, 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 fight. He says, Tom picking the Steelers number 5 is such a Tom move.
I mean, I think it's a little premature, but I don't think that I will disagree with you if they play again like that in a week or two.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. And I mean, it's subject to change. There's no doubt about it. That defense is
a top 3 defense. Like, that automatically puts them in the top 10 in this discussion with the way Russell played, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, if Russell Wilson, he started, if you watch the game at all, He started, he bounced a couple throws. He just didn't look comfortable. And look, you can understand that. It was his first game of the year, real game of the year. Guys are allowed to, have a slow start.
Right.
But then there were some touch throws in there, man, where you're like, whoa. And yeah, you had some players make plays, but that's why you have wide receivers and guys on your team. They're paid to make plays. When the ball goes up, how many times have we seen Higgins or Chase go make a play, right?
Right.
Go make a play. That doesn't take anything away from the quarterback. He's giving his player a chance to make a play. Sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't. College football, Oregon is the new number one. That will not last. But they are number one, and they've earned it. They're undefeated. They beat Ohio State at home. Ohio State gave that game away. But Oregon won the game, and they won the game. So they're number one. Georgia is number two. Georgia's the best team right now. They had one bad half against Alabama, and that was it. They didn't play great against Kentucky, and their quarterback is not playing great. But their defense, when they decide to show up, it's just insane.
Yeah,
I mean, they got players everywhere. You got Penn State number 3, undefeated, winning tight games, your guys. They will host Ohio State in 2 weeks. Ohio State's ranked number 4, and Texas tumbles down to number 5. I am going to predict that Texas will lose again this year in the SEC. I just don't think they're very good. I mean, and that's all relative, okay? When I say not very good, I'm not putting them in the category with fill in the blank with a bunch of other teams, right? But I just think that they're going to lose another game. And I could be 1,000% wrong, and I am more times than I am right. Alex wants to know if I ever worked at McDonald's. No, but I did work at other restaurants. I was a dishwasher for a long time.
Did you see that clip going around?
Of course I did.
Oh, of course.
I mean, are you kidding? Come on. I pay attention to the world. I pay attention. Everett says the Trump fries are the best fries. Okay. Let's talk about baseball for a few minutes. Couple of things. It was asked here about the Reds canceling Reds Fest. My buddy Jim Lewis asking about that. My understanding is because of the all of the construction going on with the convention center, right? I think that's why they're canceling it this year.
That's right.
Because believe me when I tell you, look, I got myself fired, but the Reds could have stayed with me. They decided to fire me, and that's fine. You move on, right? So I mean, they did what they got to do. That's fine. Believe me when I tell you, I was around there long enough to know that they love Reds Fest and everything it does for the promotion of their team. And if there's ever a year where they have something good to talk about, it's not necessarily the way the team played on the field, but you hired Terry Francona. And you got Ellie, right? You got McLean playing in the Arizona Fall League. I mean, you've got some good things. And they don't want to cancel it. That's just the way it happens this year. I don't know if they could have moved it to another hotel. Mark points out, that's not the only venue in town. No, it's not. It's not the only venue, but, I don't know if something's going on at the Hyatt on that particular weekend. Something's going on at the Westin that particular weekend, right? Where you got to need all this convention space with all the stuff they got going on. I don't know.
They should have moved it right here to Spooky Nut. Just right here. They got all that space there.
You know what? You're right.
Right here in Hamilton.
I mean, Jim is really upset about that. Sharonville Convention Center. There's another nice place. I've been out there for a lot of SPCA Cincinnati events. That's a great place. And Optimistic John. Boy, you're optimistic, John, saying Reds year is 2025. Okay. I used to make I'm not even going to call them, I would call them, but I don't want to throw them all under one blanket in a disparaging way. I would get these people that would send me all of these things when I was announcing the games, and I'd be talking about, with no salary cap, how baseball it's hard to be a fan of a team outside of a big market. Now, does that mean every big market, big money team is going to have a good season? Of course it doesn't. It's the Yankees' first trip to the World Series since 2009. Okay? So, and then somebody will send me a thing, what about the Tampa Bay Rays and all of the playoff appearances? What about the Royals of 2015? Yeah, what about them? I've said before, the Reds of 2012 could have been what the Royals were of 2015, where everything aligned. You had a good team, mixture of young players, had a couple of older guys, and when the stage was the brightest stage, the biggest stage in the postseason, Kansas City won in 2015. They had their chance, they won. The Reds had the best team in the National League in 2012. They had their chance, and they choked. End of story. Then they fell off the map, just like Kansas City fell off the map, just like Tampa Bay. They've had a nice run at it. Playoff appearances, disappear. The teams will go through these stages. Cleveland, I think, has been almost as impressive as Tampa Bay, even though the Indians, the Guardians, have not been to the World Series in recent years. But their player development, they compete every year, and they fall short, as they did again this year in the LCS. And who do we have in the World Series? You have the big money Yankees against the bigger money Dodgers, right?
Right.
You had New York, L.A., Cleveland were your final four teams. And if you go back and look at the last number of years since they increased the numbers of teams in the playoffs, the big market teams are the ones most of the time that A, are getting in. Now, Kansas City got in this year. Done. Right? Detroit got in this year. They're a big market, but they're not a big spending team. Done. Okay? When we got to the final four teams, you had one outlier. And the other three are spending a gazillion dollars. Now, does that mean there won't be some team that comes along, maybe next year, maybe the Reds, maybe the Guardians, maybe the Royals? Baltimore, everybody talks about them the last few years. Oh, my God, the Orioles. Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Yes, they made the playoffs, good for them, but nowhere to be found once we get through either a wild card round or a division series round. I just think it's really, really tough. And baseball's on a good run here as far as more people watching the game. They changed the rules with the pitch clock and getting rid of the shift and all these kinds of things. So there's thank you very much. RoboBuck. Diamondbacks made it to the World Series last year. There's an outlier.
Yep.
Right? They don't even make the playoffs this year. I'm talking about sustained chances of winning. They come with spending money. And anybody who wants to argue that point to the other side, they're really wasting their breath. And some will be raving mad at me for saying that. And they'll try to give you every example in the book. The only small market team, and the Cardinals don't fit into small market, so don't throw the Cardinals at me. Because they're in top 10, top 12 payroll every year until the last year or two. And what's happened the last year or two? They stink. They've been worse than the Reds. The mighty Cardinals, right. Worse than the Reds. Hey, Elliot, you got to get in here. We got to get Elliot in here before we go.
That's right.
We got to get him in here before we go. And since CB says, is it socialist, these other leagues that have a salary cap? It is. But for sports, it can work. Doesn't work anywhere else. Just look it up. As Kurt Signetti would say, just Google it. Now, my understanding is,
here we go.
This is a big night for you tonight.
What did Casey tell you?
Tells me about this parlay.
That's correct.
Good morning, by the way.
Good morning, Tom. How are you doing?
It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So, by the way, before I let you go, is that your ex account that said you came home from the bars and you turn on the TV and there I am doing a West Coast game?
My account? What do you mean?
There is another account that has your picture. It says Smelly It.
That is not, that is not my account.
I didn't know if it was yours or not.
I've been trying to find the owner of that account because they keep tweeting at me. So somebody in our group chat, I imagine it is Mouse Cop or somebody has my face because that picture that they have,
it's of you as a little guy.
It's from my Instagram
Right.
and from senior year of high school. But yes, tonight there is significant financial implications on the line for myself. Yeah.
Would you explain, please? Because I know you have your show that starts in 2 minutes.
We're in a group chat. The group chat, it's a 4-person group chat. We each picked the first touchdown score in the NFL slate yesterday. What happened was I picked Kenneth Walker on Saturday night. He was questionable with an illness, so I picked another one.
Okay.
I picked Kareem Hunt and Kenneth Walker. So now we have 2 first touchdown parlays, okay? One has Kenneth, one has Kareem Hunt, and the other 3 legs are the exact same. So I have 2 first touchdown parlays. Well, yesterday, 2 legs hit of one of them, and that was 10 to win 12,000. So what happened was I cashed out. I cashed out of that for about $300.
Okay.
I then put
So you're plus 300. Let's start there.
Plus 300 there,
All right.
but I lose the chance to win 10,000.
I got you.
So what I did was I put that money on Kyron Williams, who was the next leg of that parlay, because I would be mad at myself if it was just going to win. So I won that one, 70, and I won 300 more. So now I'm up 600 from that one parlay. But again, you lose the chance to win 12,000. The other parlay still in play. I let that one ride. 3 legs in. So this is $8 to win 7,200.
And it will be predicated upon
Derrick Henry scoring a first touchdown.
what's your buyout?
As of yesterday, it was 1,300, but it was lowered this morning. DraftKings lowered it by $200, so now it's about $1,100.
All right, so if I'm in my Ohio University Anderson High School math is not very good.
Yeah.
But if I am not mistaken here, you're plus 600 as we sit here right now.
That's right.
You could, let's just say it's 1,200, okay?
Sure.
You could be plus another 1,200, which puts you at plus $1,800 for the weekend.
That's
if
right.
If you just say, you know what, I'm going to let it run. I got to take this.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a lot of money.
It's a hell of a lot of money.
And what are you going to do?
But here's the thing, Tom. I cashed out of the one, so I could have won 12,000. Now that's gone. If I cashed out of this one, I could have had 7 more thousand. So now I could have had 19,000. Instead, I'm walking away with 1,800. Now it's all relative, but I can't cash out of 2. I don't know if I can. Maybe my mind will change as the day goes on, but it's a big decision, Tom.
That's a huge decision. You'd win 7,200?
7,200.
Everybody has an opinion, and everybody will be in the chat when you guys start your show. Right now, I'm already over. But the Real Spirit Cat says cashing out parlays equals chicken move. I disagree. All right. Thank you for that update.
No problem.
I can't wait to hear what you do.
I'm excited. I got a couple hours to.
What's
to
the
stew on
latest
it.
you could cash that out?
Up until game time.
Up until game time.
I imagine.
And you need Derrick Henry in the Buccaneers v. Ravens to score the first touchdown of the game.
That's correct.
Not for his team, but of the game.
Of the game. He has to be the first person into the end zone.
Okay. All right. Well, the chat is just getting warmed up for all you guys coming up next. Casey, thank you. I hope everything's okay with your car.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see after these shows are done.
That's a bummer. If you need anything, let me know. All right.
Sorry to the chat. It's just been a wild morning this morning. My car died as soon as I parked in this lot over here, and I don't know what's going on with it. So sorry about this morning and the sound. I've just been in a frenzy this morning.
Don't worry about it. Everything was great. You did a great job, and if you need any help, let me know. Okay.
If I win 7,200, I'll buy you a new car.
No, you got to buy yourself a car.
I do.
I was getting ready to say something changed. All right, everybody. Thank you for being with us. For Luke, for Casey, for Elliot, I'm Tom off the bench. You guys are ready to roll. It's a big league show today.
Big show today.
Victory Monday.
That's right.
For the Bengalis. It's coming up right now. Here we go.
The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Oh, hi. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. It's Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers right here on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube and 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here, off and rolling on a Monday. And there's one thing I know about this show. I guarantee we're going to have a good day today. Welcome
Well, that
in.
means we're not, because your guarantees don't mean a thing.
That's right.
20 seconds. Not even 20 seconds. You couldn't let me get 20 seconds in.
Well, I shouldn't even be able to talk right now because I should be eeting my donuts because the losing team was supposed to bring in donuts this morning. And I don't have anything in my hands.
I had a bakery ready to go. I was going to wake up early this morning. Now, unfortunately, the Bengals won and it wasn't close.
So I didn't have to.
But the bet was loser brought in donuts.
That's right.
And I don't.
Did drop the
Casey,
ball on that.
did he hide any donuts under that bucket?
Yeah, look behind you. Maybe they're back there.
There's no donuts under by the bucket.
Are they?
Is it that plate?
Oh, no, it's not.
It's the plate of L's. You can give that to Kinner if we
Hold on,
want.
time out. Has that always been there, or was this a bit? I don't
No,
know.
it's been there forever.
It's been there forever.
Casey
But-
stashed that sucker. But where are my donuts?
So I wanted the really, really good ones. Then they said they make their best donuts on Tuesdays.
Okay.
Hand to God, I just kind of forgot. Not gonna lie.
Oh, I know you forgot.
Little bit of a rough weekend.
I got
Little
you.
reminder would have been nice. But
Well,
you
no,
know what?
I also forgot until the chat reminded me about 3 minutes ago.
yeah.
Shout out to them. Your
So,
favorites.
I mean, happy Monday, happy Victory Monday for
That's
you
It is
guys.
big money. Big win. Needed it.
That's
Huge.
Monumental.
Couldn't have been a bigger Sunday.
But so obviously, you know, we're opening up with something happened yesterday that's never been done before. The New York Liberty winning their first ever WNBA championship, and that's what we're opening up with today. There's nothing else.
That's right. You didn't want to follow the ticker today?
Oh, what's happening? Ha ha, guarantee. Ha ha. He really guaranteed it. That's just too funny. Bengals win. Man, I do need to go to the eye doctor because I'm like really squinting to get some of that in there.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a day of me just having to eat it for the day.
I think so.
And rightfully so. Rightfully so.
I don't like how worried I got at the end there. I did get nervous after Jameis let him all the way down and then onside kick.
I mean, it wasn't like it
Geno
felt
Stone
over.
snaps his leg in half. I was like, this is going really poorly, really fast. And then, I mean, luckily, onside recovery. But
What a game of special teams yesterday.
Yeah.
Because all week it was just about Browns bad offense against the Bengals bad defense, and that would be, you know what I mean? And then you have the Bengals really good offense against the Browns really good defense, and obviously those things played roles throughout, but it was special teams right off the bat. You get the kickoff that's returned for a touchdown to set the tone. At one point when they thought that he stepped out, I said I actually hope that he didn't step out, because what I didn't want to have happen was Joe Burrow in the offense to get the ball like first and goal right off the bat, and then all of a sudden they're rolling offensively, right? So I kind of was like, all right, just give them the damn touchdown. I don't want the offense to get credit for a touchdown right off the bat and then get them going. And then the Browns missing field goals, missing extra points. That's not why they lost, but special teams is why it was a different game towards the end.
Yeah.
But that was ugly. That was ugly on both
was.
sides, but I guaranteed a Browns victory for a lot of different reasons. And none of the outside of Nick Chubb getting the touchdown, nothing else really kind of went how I anticipated. Deshaun out for the season.
that's right.
Possibly played his last game as a Cleveland Brown. I know, tears all around.
I saw some quote unquote experts on Twitter talking about some insurance policies buried in large contracts if
So what it
they
would
were
do,
to miss the final year or two for an injury.
No, if he misses, so if he's not active by week 1 of next year, which he won't be with this injury at this time of the season, I think it's like a $13 or $14 million write-off. So
It's not
they'll
nothing.
have that towards the cap for next
That's
year.
not nothing.
No, it's not. I mean, that's a year of Joe Flacco.
Bring him home.
That's a year of somebody, right?
him
I was thinking about what I was going to say on this yesterday because I was going to try to carefully craft my thoughts. So I'm going to say it, And I want you to know I'm being dead serious. I'm not making a joke here.
This will be good.
I can't imagine, truly, I can't fathom being hated by everybody. He is despised, not hated, he is despised by everyone. To be the quarterback, the most important player on your team, to be carted off the field in front of your home fans and to be left with cheers and applause, truly, I can't imagine something more terrible. That is so beyond. To be quite honest, I'm very sorry to say this. I don't blame Cleveland fans. I really don't. And I don't want to be a bad person. I'm trying to be my best. I don't root for injuries. He made a lot of money. He's not particularly a good person, and he hasn't played any games. I don't know. It's kind of a tightrope to walk if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, because make no mistake, 60,000 people were very, very excited to see that happen. And I don't know if it's the right decision. I don't know if it's the wrong decision. But I couldn't imagine being so universally hated by everybody that when I left in a home game, that every one of my 60,000 fans were cheering that my season was over.
Every fan.
I would say a majority. It was pretty loud. It was a pretty loud cheer. And again, I'm not going to sit here and point fingers who to blame. I'm just saying, to be a person that's that universally despised, tough situation. And I know the Browns, I don't know if they were given every teammate cue cards last night on what to read. That's
your way out. You told me last week all his teammates hated him, and I was ready to throw that at you and say his teammates don't hate him.
Well,
let's
hold on for a second.
Let's not hold on for a second. They don't hate Deshaun Watson.
They have to say that.
They don't. Nick Chubb didn't say anything after the game.
That.
Nick Chubb didn't say anything after. They don't.
They have to.
They don't. They didn't have to go into much detail as they did about the Deshaun Watson. They just should have said, you know what? It's not cool to boo any player that's injured, regardless of the situation. And they could have left it at that. They didn't. They went in detail about it. Teammates don't hate him as much as everyone wanted to portray. Fans are hypocrites as well. If you wanted to boo Deshaun, it should have been the first time he ever stepped foot out on the field in Cleveland. That's the problem I have. The second Deshaun Watson stepped foot out on the field, this is why all Browns fans are all full of crap. Because every single one of you that wants to pretend to be on your moral high ground and boo him yesterday because of everything, it had nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with the allegations or anything. You could say it did, but it didn't. It's that you wanted a new quarterback and he was in the way. Because it wasn't just, oh man, we got to get through this year with bad quarterback play. He's your quarterback for the next 2 years, at least contractually. May have taken his final snap yesterday, literally, as far as that's concerned.
You said there are other teams that might want him. There is not a team ever that wants that. Every home fan, I've never seen that before.
I haven't either.
I've never seen a home fan boo their quarterback, their $48 million quarterback.
Completely get that.
Booed him off the field.
What
team wants to deal with that?
That quarterback that got booed off outplayed your quarterback in the first half yesterday. That quarterback that got booed off the field.
He's certainly better than DTR. I'll give him credit. He's certainly better than DTR.
He outplayed Joe Burrow in that first half yesterday.
That doesn't even matter. That means no one would.
No, I completely get that. But the point is that the fans who are sitting there booing him because they're pretending to be outraged by all the other stuff, it had nothing to do. He could have thrown for 3 touchdowns in the first half. They were going to cheer when he got hurt. They didn't. They don't want Deshaun Watson to be the starting quarterback in Cleveland anymore. The fans have had enough. Now you got the players screaming at the fans. You had an altercation on the sideline yesterday that led to security kind of having to make their way over just because the players were just disgusted at the fact that the fans were booing Deshaun Watson. Completely get that. Completely get it. His time in Cleveland's done. The ramifications of signing him or not, because they're going to be restricted, money-wise moving forward. And luckily, as I've said before, they have an owner that has enough money to kind of roll over some contracts to get out of that. But this isn't a good situation to be in. Andrew Berry's probably gone after this year. Kevin Stefanski's probably gone after this year, which I think is wrong. I do think that when Sirianni's out in Philadelphia.
No, that's someone I think someone was going to jump on the open market, Stefanski.
Yeah, and I think it's Philadelphia.
He'll be hired right away.
I know a lot of people think that Bill Belichick is Philly bound at some point, but I think Kevin Stefanski with Jalen Hurts with that offense, I do think that Kevin Stefanski is not to blame. He's just going to, and probably he's like, put me out of my misery.
Yeah.
You had Robert Saleh, as you call him. Robert Saleh was interviewed last week about he's enjoying life. He was glad to be released from the Jets. He was glad to be rid of that, and I think Kevin Stefanski's in the same boat. But bottom line, yesterday was a complete blank show for Cleveland. But Cincinnati gets another W up on the board. They're a game under 500 now. They don't look. The problem is for Cincinnati, I don't know who the hell they are.
Right.
I I still have, with the last 2 wins, I had less questions when they were losing than I do now when they're winning. And that's what's weird. Am I wrong in saying that?
Not at all.
Like,
not at all.
And we can get to, I do want to give the Bengals a clean segment. So we're going to hold off on the Bengals stuff so we'll wrap up the Browns stuff quick.
Okay.
Go into Cincinnati for the reaction because I think they deserve. Look, they're rolling now, kind of. We'll get to that in its own segment. But what you got?
When I was talking to Kinner before I came in. We both were walking in the building. I'm like, if you put in Jameis Winston, and I don't know what that decision was. I don't know why they made that decision. But if Jameis Winston was the backup quarterback and not the emergency third stringer, there's a solid chance the Browns walk away with a win.
Okay, so I think DTR is going to start all year.
Which means, and I think so too, but I think it goes back to, when I was talking to them, they don't want to win.
I don't know if it's that. What are you trying to win?
Well,
Jameis Winston's not winning you a Super Bowl.
No.
He might get you to the wild card.
No, but Jameis Winston would fight.
But is that better for your franchise than to see what you have in DTR, a young quarterback that your front office has said they love and the coaching staff has said they really like? You get to see him for 10 weeks, and then you pick really high if he's bad, and you draft a new quarterback, or he's good, and you make the playoffs. I think it's a win-win for the Browns with DTR, whereas with Jameis, you make the playoffs, then what? You're picking 14 and you're not in a good spot to pick a quarterback and you don't know what you have in DTR. I think he's their only option to actually progress the franchise this season in what might be a lost season.
Yeah, that's fair. My argument though is you said it's a win-win. The other there's 3 options. There's win-win, and then there's I don't want to actually win football games, which is fine. You can have DTR be good, and that's one. You can have him be bad, have a good draft pick. But that's you just kind of discounting this season, which, by the way, it's over now. I mean, there's no. I mean,
it's over now. But
it wasn't
to your point.
It wasn't over yesterday.
It wasn't over. That game I viewed it as, and maybe internally with the Browns, I know it's just so bad behind the scenes that there's no way that they're going to rally behind all this mess, right? If Jameis Winston's the backup quarterback, the second that Achilles pops, everything changes. From the excitement, the anticipation. That touchdown that Jameis throws late, I don't know how much credit I want to give Jameis for it. The Bengals probably shouldn't have taken their foot off the gas, but it did seem like they weren't as aggressive in that final drive, and it almost opened up the door for that. I mean, it did. It opened up the door for the onside kick. That could have been a disastrous finish for the Bengals had that been the case. But with that being said, if Jameis comes in right off the bat in the second half and leads the Browns down on a touchdown scoring drive, it's a completely different vibe. It's a completely different vibe, and Cleveland probably wins that football game yesterday, and that gives them their second win of the season. They would be 2-5. No one's screaming Super Bowl, but they're not done. They're not eliminated. You have 6 losses as we sit here right now before we even get to November. The Browns season is officially done. So now, moving forward, it needs to be DTR, even though I've argued with many Browns fans. I was arguing with Browns fans yesterday. DTR is not the answer. You have a question about DTR, you got the answer. The guy stinks. He's not very good. I'm not a DTR guy. Anyone that thinks that DTR is just magically going to be the Browns' answer to everything, this is the same garbage that Browns organization has been doing for decades, trying to find a GD quarterback to lead this stupid organization. So I'm getting pissed. But bottom line is, Jameis Winston should have been second. There's no explanation for it. They haven't even come out and explained why Jameis, who's been the backup quarterback all season, just magically, no, he's number 3 today. No, wasn't even active. He wasn't even active. He wasn't even when the active list or inactive list came out, Jameis Winston was at the top. And then when Deshaun went down, you're able to maneuver the quarterbacks. I think that rule changed a couple years ago with the Niners.
DTR has to get hurt as well.
Yeah.
Which they said he did on the interception return on a block where he got up and jogged off the field.
So, and this goes back to what Ellie and I were talking about coming up. It's like the vibe is, I don't think they want to win. I think that what you could have done yesterday, gone to Jameis right away, won that football game, and spread and extend this a bit. You got the Ravens coming up. They've had success against the Ravens in recent history. Like, it could have changed the whole direction of the season for the Browns. But by going to DTR, not giving yourself the best chance to win that football game, that shows that there was never an intent to try to go win this football game. It's all about knowing who you have at quarterback, because they know Deshaun's not the quarterback moving forward. They needed to know if DTR was the quarterback. He proved he wasn't. Yes, it's just one game. It's all I need. It was all the games last year. It's the games this year. I've seen enough. But here's what they should have done. It should have been Jameis Winston. Even if he did lead you to a win and you don't want to stick with it moving forward, let him go out there and have a kick-ass game to put on film so that you can go trade him at the deadline. The trade deadline's coming up on November 5th. I'm not saying somebody will trade for Jameis. I don't know who, but someone will trade for Jameis. And I'm not saying, oh, my God, you just cost yourself a number 1 draft pick. But a 6th-round draft pick for Jameis Winston, when you could have maybe bumped that up to a 4th, is a big deal when you are about to start a reload, pretty much.
Cleveland wanted someone to cheer for. It was very evident. I saw the clip of the pregame when Deshaun Watson was running in to the pregame video. They boo him. Nick Chubb comes in, and it was overwhelming applause and cheers. The city of Cleveland wants somebody to cheer for. I don't think DTR was the guy they wanted. I think it was Jameis Winston, and the fact that they didn't have him as an active quarterback, I think, says a lot about what's going on in Cleveland, and it's a train wreck and it's a disaster.
That swap beforehand makes me think that they were going to play DTR anyway, regardless of Deshaun Watson's Achilles. I think you make that swap because if Deshaun Watson starts going poorly in that game, you had the intention of putting DTR in there anyway and seeing what you had in that quarterback. I honestly think that's where it is right now, is you are just going to unload Jameis, sign
but
someone.
why this game is he number 2 when Jameis has been the number 2?
Because I think this game they had an intention of actually putting the number 2 quarterback in.
Okay, fair enough.
And they wanted to see DTR over Jameis. That was at least my feeling before Deshaun got hurt. And obviously you don't have a choice afterwards to just throw Jameis in there once he's inactive. You need the second quarterback to get hurt as well. So we don't know. Maybe Jameis would have been the answer if they knew how long the time frame was that the backup quarterback was going to have to be in there. But I would expect it to be DTR the rest of the year, whether it's tanking on purpose or just trying to figure out what you have in your own building or whatever it is.
Absolute disaster, absolute blank show for Cleveland. But you guys aren't upset about that, just me. I'm getting a lot of heat on social media, and I figured that would be the case. Some guy says you were just saying that to get a reaction. No, over the last couple of years, I've always been hesitant to confidently pick the Browns in this matchup with the Bengals, just like the Bengals fans would always mock the idea of the Browns being able to beat the Bengals in the past. But the Browns have owned the Bengals during the Joe Burrow era. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. It's a fact that you guys have to deal with every single season. And we saw yesterday that as much of a clown show as Cleveland is, you only won by possession. And if you don't have that kickoff return to start everything off, offense to offense, blank show of an offense against an offense with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase in that run game, and there was no domination whatsoever. I mean, come on. This idea that I was crazy for picking the Browns to win, I wasn't crazy for the Browns to win. The Browns have every weapon you need to beat a Cincinnati Bengals team with the weapons that they have. They lost. There's no excuse on my end. I'm not going to sit there and say because Deshaun goes out, they lose. Deshaun, was efficient. He was out playing Joe Burrow in the first half. Bottom line is he got hurt. They go to DTR. He's not good. I'm not even guaranteeing that Jameis wins them that football game. I think they have a better chance with Jameis at quarterback to win that football game. But either way, Cleveland, season's done. But the good news is, for me, they got a draft pick. That's all that matters. A first-round draft pick. And hopefully they don't try to win games moving forward to screw it up. That's the Jacob mentality.
There we go. That's
so
right.
There you go.
That's right.
All right, but it is a victory Monday for the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's who we will turn our attention towards. The win over the Panthers, I remember coming in on a Monday. It was just kind of, all right, they got to win. Didn't feel great, but you feel good about a win. You win a game last week against the Giants. We came in, same thing. Just kind of, we beat the Giants. I think there's a little more extra oomph when you beat the Browns. But again, I don't know what the hell we've learned about your Cincinnati Bengals in their third win of the season. All I know is the only thing that we did learn technically is, from a win perspective, they're back. They're back in this. This is no longer, oh man, our season's done. The margin for error is obviously still slim, but again, they're getting a little bit more room for error moving forward, obviously. But with the wins, the back-to-back wins that the Bengals have had against the Giants and the Browns, I still feel like no questions have been answered. I feel like there are more questions now than what they were when they started out 1-4, whatever it was at the beginning of the season. Let's talk about the Bengals win over the Browns and what it means for the Cincinnati Bengals moving forward. More off the bench when we come back. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. We started out the morning, of course. Tom Brenneman dialed in. Casey, of course, already one show into the day. Casey, how we feeling? Happy Victory Monday for you, my friend.
Yeah, it's a Victory Monday. I'm not going to be super negative today. I'll probably be a little more negative about this team tomorrow. A win's a win in the NFL. And that's all I got to say. A win's a win. You got to just keep stacking wins and see where you get at towards December, January, and maybe you'll figure it out by then. So if that maybe gives you a little insight to how I feel about the Bengals moving forward.
So, and again, so the vibe's very similar. That's what I mean. Like, even the wins this season for Cincinnati, we come in, and I feel like, it's supposed to be Victory Monday. We're supposed to be excited. Your team won. I don't feel like that excitement's there again. Maybe it's because your win totals looks like the draft order at this point. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I don't think it's just that, because we knew you guys were going to play a lot of as a last place schedule, right? Last year, Joe Burrow goes down. That's why your team finishes in last. I'm not mocking it. You're playing the last place schedule. But the wins opportunities were going to be there. Didn't take advantage of those opportunities early. Starting to take advantage of those opportunities now. But as we sit here right now, is it doom and gloom for you two? It was a win. It was the second straight win. It's the third win of the season. Are you, as Casey wasn't all doom and gloom, but he wasn't as jacked up either. How are we feeling about the Bengals win yesterday? We'll start with Elliot.
I feel better about this than I think a lot of people do. It's an ugly game. You know that's what it's going to be in Cleveland. You haven't won there in 6 years. It's take the win. I'm not mad about this win. I think the Giants I was mad about because you started off with that 50-yard touchdown by Joe Burrow, and I thought the offense was going to be able to cook, and I was disappointed to see they didn't. You know the Browns have a good defense. You've been saying it for I don't know how long, Kenner. They have a good defense. We know they have a good defense. They tried their best. I think Charlie Jones getting it off like that on a kickoff return touchdown, that certainly helps things. Now, I will say, it does feel like to me at times when the Bengals have leads, they go into coast mode. And I don't think that should be accepted. At some point, you gotta just step on their face. When you're up by 7 points, just keep going and keep going. But I come out of this smelling like a rose. I love this. Good for the Cincinnati Bengals. An ugly win against a good defense. The defense for us that's been terrible for I don't know how many weeks has now started to look a lot better. Now, again, DTR, not a good quarterback, so maybe that helps. Deshaun Watson, not a good quarterback. Maybe that helps. But the defense played a massive part in yesterday's game. I thought they did great. They did a good job. Nick Chubb had 11 carries for 20 yards.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal job. There was one little momentum shift right before the half, and it's when Deshaun got hurt. There was a change in that building, clearly, and I thought things were going to go in Cleveland's way. But the Bengals came out in the second half, looked hot. Here's the thing about the Bengals. They can do whatever they want when they want to. But they have to want to. And I felt like sometimes, at points during this season, they didn't always want to. They would just want to coast and coast. And maybe we can just milk this clock, milk it. And I felt like there was a little bit of that going on yesterday. I didn't feel like it was, let's just throw it to Jamar Chase. Because when they throw it to Jamar Chase, he's open. Somebody's open down the field, and I feel like they don't use that enough. They don't throw it downfield enough. Jamar Chase, what did he have yesterday? How many catches did he have yesterday? 4 catches? Is that right? 3 or 4? Jamar Chase had
5 for 55.
5 for 55. And I felt like you could have used Jamar Chase more yesterday. I really did. I think that whole offense could have been better. I think they were playing a tough defense, mind you. But when Joe Burrow needed to score those 2 touchdowns, he marched down the field and scored 2 touchdowns. And once you're up 21-6 against a team without a quarterback or a good sense of vibes, it was over. I mean, I pretty much knew it was over. So I walk away happy. You're 1-1 in the division. You get your first AFC win. I don't care if that one was ugly. I really don't. I cared a little bit about the Giants being ugly because I don't think the Giants are good at all. And I thought the defense for the Browns was okay enough. And I thought Deshaun Watson maybe would come in and have his first good game of the year. So I'm as happy as a peach. Bengals are 3-4. You're more than alive in this division. I still think you're 1-1. You beat the Ravens in a couple weeks. Now we're cooking. I will say the Steelers win last night sucked. Aaron Rodgers is a bum. Sorry, but Aaron, what are we doing with that nonsense? That was the only thing yesterday that went wrong that I was like, damn it.
Yeah, we'll get to that, the AFC North roundup in a moment.
We'll get to that. But yeah, people were mad on Twitter that the Bengals offense looked bad, and it did. 8 punts. Joe Burrow threw for 180 yards. Chase Brown wasn't really effective on the ground, 15 for 44. 6 carries, 7 yards for Zach Moss. It was ugly. But you win ugly games in the NFL, especially in the AFC North. That's AFC North football. That's what it is. That's what we expected. So good for the Cincinnati Bengals on getting it done.
The problem I don't think as many people are concerned with yesterday's game if you didn't look the way you did against the Giants before. When you put back-to-back average – well, let me get to Jacob. Let's get to Jacob first. We'll recap with all that in a moment. But you're right. It's AFC North football. It's usually ugly football to begin with. But the Ravens wasn't – I mean, I guess it was ugly football on the opposite side of the ball, I guess, from that perspective. But I think what a lot of people expect is, that run where the Bengals are putting up 30 points per game, that's supposed to be the identity of this team. And I think the concern that people are having, as I give this to Jake, is that the identity that people think that this team has is not the identity of the team from the last 2 weeks. And the reason there's confusion is because when they look like the identity of the team, all offense, they don't win football games. When they don't look like the identity of what you perceive to be their identity, they win football games. It's like there just seems to be so many question marks, and I think the question marks are getting in the way of fully enjoying back-to-back wins and getting to within a game of 500, Jake.
And I'll take the wins. Don't get it confused. I'll take the wins over the wonderful offensive games and statistical outputs. But I'm kind of straddling the fence as best as I can here. I'm definitely with Casey a little bit where it comes to the offense. There's level for concern here. I mean, this team can't run the football, and that's a really big problem. Chase Brown's been really explosive, and he had a few runs last night that would have changed the stat sheet drastically, and we wouldn't even be talking about it if Cordell Volson doesn't get a 30-yard run called back on a hold that, yet again, seemed like he just won the block. But that puts him at 16 for 70, and then we have a good running team. So that's how volatile the rushing game is. But I do think at some point it's going to become an issue because no matter what game it's been so far this year, if the other team knows we're going to run the football, we haven't been able to. It's been the surprises and the longer downs where we're able to bust off long runs, and it just hasn't been the case otherwise. I think that's a big-time issue, but I still have a lot of faith in Joe Burrow. It's a bad game, 15 to 25 for 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 108 passer rating. That's your bad games, I'll be pretty happy. And how many times have we seen the Bengals go up to Cleveland and him put up a 180-yard stat line or something like that, and the Bengals not be able to get the job done? That's the biggest thing I've seen so far from this Bengals team in the last 2 weeks, that I know it hasn't been pretty and it's not exactly what we want them to be doing. We would love for the defense to be holding teams to 3 and whatever it was 14 points when the offense is scoring 38 and 35, and that's when you just roll and we look like the Super Bowl contender everyone expected us to be. But if we can win games like this, when the offense does click, the defense is going to have a lot of pressure taken off their shoulders, because if you can hold a team to 14 points in a game where your offense only scores 21, then you can probably hold a team to 21 points when your offense scores 38, and then that's an even greater game. And I think all this stuff has been just so massive for the defense and building up a little bit of confidence, because I don't think they had any after the first few weeks of the season. We saw the players on Twitter getting off takes, and that's never a good sign. We saw a players-only meeting, which I don't want to speak too soon, but are we on the really, really small group of it's worked players-only meetings?
Yeah,
I don't know. Defense looks good so far. It's been reassuring. It's been really, really nice, but we have a big-time test in front of us, and I'm definitely going to enjoy this win for a minute, but this Eagles offense coming to town is not like the Giants and the Browns. This is going to be they're full of weapons. They have maybe the best running back in football when it comes to versatility with catching the ball as well. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith back healthy, and Jalen Hurts hasn't turned the ball over in a few weeks. So Eagles come to town next week. It's going to be a big-time test for this defense. But what I've seen so far is exactly what I wanted to see, and I hope that we're able to keep it up with some of the injuries. Geno Stone seemingly broke his leg on one of the last drives of the game for this Bengals defense, and that comes just a few plays after he got an interception, which was exactly what we signed him to do, was be on the other side of those explosive plays that the Bengals allowed so many of last year, and he finally got one, and then unfortunately breaks his leg, probably going to be out for a long time. He was immediately carted off the field and ruled out of the game. So hoping for the best for him. But Jordan Battle, Dejon Anthony coming off the bench, we're probably going to see a lot of both of them, maybe even Tyson Anderson. It's going to be really interesting to see how they're able to step up. But outside of Trey Hendrickson, who continues to just be a monster, the defensive line has looked great too since they got healthy. Sheldon Rankins makes a massive difference, and B.J. Hill has been more effective than he's been at any point in time in his career when it comes to rushing the passer, which has been awesome to see. The linebackers have taken a step back to what they were kind of for the first 2 weeks of the season when they were playing really well before they dipped off. Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt leading the team in tackles. Logan Wilson right on the doorstep of leading the league. It's been really nice to see this defense take a step. You just hope that they can keep doing it with losing Geno Stone, who I know hasn't been great this year, but that's still your starting safety. It's going to
Yep.
be tough to lose him and bounce back, but hopefully Battle and Anthony can do that, one of them or both of them in a committee. I'm really, really confident in this team and more confident now than I have been in a long time, really since the preseason, because we continue to win games ugly, and after the first 3 weeks, I didn't think that was possible. I didn't think ugly wins were something that we were going to be able to do. I thought it was going to have to be 30-point wins every week, and to do that in back-to-back weeks is great, but I mean, you touched on it. Casey touched on it. You even said it a little bit, how just trying to milk the clock at the end of the game, inexcusable. You have to be a little bit aggressive. You let the Browns get back in the game. Your last 2 drives before the final punt, you had 14 yards in 4 minutes and 4 seconds.
Yeah.
That's not enough time. And that's only because Chase Brown was able to bust off one run for a first down. It was a 13-yard run. You ran the ball 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times in a row. A punt and a missed field goal at the end of those drives.
Yeah.
You have to be multiple in your offense. I know you have to milk the clock, and you do at the end of a tight game, but you can't just run the ball behind Cody Ford 9 times.
And my issues, and I know nobody likes to hear me complain about Zach Taylor, but I do think that this team is being a little bit held back by coaching. I do. And I'm very sorry to say that if you're a Zach Taylor believer. But I just think that they could be more. I think the offense could be better. I think, and I know Joe Burrow was the one who audibled out of it yesterday, but running the ball on 3rd downs in field goal range just to try to settle, it's just not going to work for me anymore. Throw the ball. Throw the ball. It's 3rd and 8. We need to play. Listen, I hate to say it. I don't really care what defense you're playing against. You don't have a particularly great set of running backs. They're fine. They're good. I like our running backs. But am I going to trust Joe Burrow or Zach Moss and Chase Brown? I'm trusting Joe Burrow. And again, I know Joe Burrow was the one who audibled out of that. But I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated with this complacency and just settling.
Why are you overlooking that, though? This is the second time this season where Zach Taylor's been blamed for being complacent when Joe Burrow's checked out of something. Now, I'm not dumb. I know I am.
Oh, no, I'm with you.
A couple games ago, the one that we talked about, what game was that? The field goal that set up the
Ravens in overtime.
The Ravens. Zach Taylor sent in a passing play. Joe Burrow checked out of it. Now, the reason you could still be critical of Zach Taylor is because he had called the run plays on the couple before that. I get that. But yesterday, you just acknowledged it. Elliot, you said Joe Burrow checked out of it, but I'm getting tired of Zach Taylor, blah, blah, blah. There's other things to complain about Zach Taylor. I completely get that. But when Joe Burrow makes a mistake, this is my biggest complaint about how you guys handle a lot of this is Joe Burrow doesn't make mistakes. And even when he makes a mistake, he doesn't make a mistake. Like at those moments, that's on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, that is on him. Now, to be fair, he's checking out of it for a reason. You may not agree with him checking out. Maybe he saw something the defense was doing that, okay, he didn't like the play that was sent in, and maybe he felt like, okay, we got to run this because I could risk an interception. I know something won't be there. We could risk a sack, especially late in that game when you're a little banged up on the offensive line. I don't know, but I do feel like we can't just sit there and say, well, Joe Burrow checked out of it, but Zach Taylor's the problem. It can't always be on Zach Taylor and no blame on Joe Burrow when the offense has stunk for two straight weeks.
If it's Joe Burrow audibled out of that, which it looks like he did, then it was a terrible decision. It's terrible. And I said that yesterday. Before we go to break real quick, and we'll continue this conversation in a second, Geno Stone, it does look like, from what I saw, is fine, relatively speaking.
Wow.
The X-rays came back negative. He was walking around in the locker room on his own power.
Holy cow.
Zach Taylor.
That looked gnarly live.
Zach Taylor said the injury is not as bad as he initially thought. So
wow.
So Geno Stone, it doesn't look like his season is over. He's going to be fine.
Incredible.
That was like Paul Pierce being carted off the field and then
I saw a screenshot, and it looked like Geno Stone had a second knee located in the middle of his shin.
They said he was walking around.
Yeah.
Is that what you just? Yeah. He was
Holy
walking
cow!
around.
That rocks. That rocks. That's a massive avoidance for the Bengals. I mean, we dodged a bullet earlier this year with Amarius Mims getting carted off. Seemingly, I mean, we haven't heard anything, locked up yet. Orlando Brown said after the game he thought he was going to be all right, but he was walking around on the sideline after getting hurt yesterday. Seems like the Bengals have been able to avoid the injury bug so far this year with some pretty serious scares. So that's incredible. Wow, that is not news I expected to hear.
They want to talk about now Mims locking up Garrett.
I saw that, and I guess we can. Mims played well yesterday. I was very happy with how Mims played. I didn't think it was a game in which, like, he locked up Myles Garrett or played out of this world. I thought it was really good. He's a rookie who's going to continue to have growing pains. He certainly got beat a few times. He had a really good game against a tough defense where the Bengals haven't had tackles be able to contain those edge rushers in a long, long time. But I feel like that's about all that needs to be said about Mims. I don't think it was. He will have games in the future where I will take a segment and talk about Amarius Mims. I don't think this was one of them. I know people want to throw PFF out the window when they think a guy had a good game, and they don't necessarily. But Amarius Mims had a 52.5 pass block grade, which is fine. That's better than Cody Ford, who had a 6. So we'll take that. Yep. But, it's not exactly like a all-pro breakout game for Mims, which I think will come soon. That's why I don't want to, necessarily blow up the games that aren't quite there yet.
All right, this is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. More reaction from Browns-Bengals when we come back. Justin Kenner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here on a Monday, a victory Monday for the Cincinnati Bengals, of course. And I made a guarantee, and that guarantee was that we were going to have a good show today.
That's right.
That's the only guarantee I've made this week as far as that goes. But Bengals have won back-to-back. We mentioned earlier that there seem to be more questions than answers even with the back-to-back wins. But like we said, in the NFL, it's one of those things where, hey, you come away with the win, that's all that matters.
Especially a place you haven't won in so long.
And especially
6 years.
Joe Burrow's never won there at
right.
all.
Zach Taylor neither, right?
What?
Zach Taylor either.
Yeah, it was since 2017.
So that was before him. Yeah, so big win for both. So I've never been on the fire Zach Taylor train, and I'm definitely not now. I mean, they've won back-to-back. But the one reason I've always been defensive of Zach Taylor is because they were never losing because of his side of the ball. I've always been more forgiving for Zach Taylor mistakes. When your offense is putting up 30 a game and you're going to pinpoint a couple play calls and say that's why you don't like him, I'm like, well, no one's perfect. Andy Reid doesn't make the perfect play call every single time, right? And I'm not comparing Zach Taylor to him, to Andy Reid by any means. But the Cincinnati Bengals, let me ask you, they've won back-to-back as a result of what? Playing two really, really bad offense? Is the defense back? Is the defense good? I said on my show the other day that I think the one thing about the Bengals is the offense isn't as good as what we think, and I don't think the defense is as bad as what we think. And I think when you merge those,
that's relatively fair.
When you merge those two talking points, I think that's what we've seen the last 2 weeks. The one thing, though, that's always in the back of your minds as Bengals fans is we've seen what bad could be with this team. You know what the floor is. That scares you every week. But you also know what the ceiling of the offense is, so that's what you hold to. I think the reason there's always still uncertainty, you're always thinking about the floor for the defense, and you're always thinking about the ceiling for the offense, and that balances you out a bit. Yeah. But with the Eagles coming up, Eagles and Ravens in 2 of your next 3 games, I know the Raiders are coming up, and that one's not a scary, scary game, but that could set up like the last 2 weeks. And they have Crosby, maybe, unless he's traded by the deadline. But the problem is with Philadelphia coming up, the defense, is the defense for real? The last 2 weeks, is this who the defense is? What's going on?
What do you mean by for real? Because in the last 2 weeks, they're a top, 10 unit, which I don't think they're that.
And we've said they don't have to be elite. They don't have to be great.
I think they might be top 15 healthy.
Let's just call them
top 18.
Let's just call them middle.
Yeah, they're if you split the league into thirds, they're in the middle third of the league.
And are these stats inflated because it's Daniel Jones / Giants and Deshaun DTR?
Absolutely. I also think the bad end of the stats are inflated because you played a Commanders team where Jaden Daniels didn't throw an incomplete pass when he was on the hottest 3-week stretch we've ever seen from a rookie quarterback, and you played Lamar Jackson, who continues to put up gaudy numbers against everybody. And the Panthers game, I guess you can say, is an outlier. But even the Chiefs game, you only allowed 23 points and then a field goal at the end on a pass interference that was a 60-yard penalty. So this defense hasn't been as bad as we think on paper. It's just been they have been the outlier that lost us every game for a while, which is why it was so bad and talked about so much. The offense was dominant, and they couldn't stop a runny nose. So that's why it was so loud. But in the last 2 weeks, they've done a good job against the bad quarterbacks. And that's reassuring to me because
Yep.
I, again, earlier this season, had no confidence that we were going to be able to stop the bad quarterbacks. I know that's great. And yesterday in the show, Sean Connor was making fun of me because he said, you're way too happy about beating two teams with inferior rosters, inferior teams with inferior rosters. We were just a better team, and we went out there and won the game. So we saw this same team and roster lose to inferior rosters earlier this year. This is a change. This is a change of pace. And how many times, if we're talking about purely on-paper rosters, have the Bengals went into Cleveland in the last 6 or 7 years and lost a game where they are the better team on paper? That happens all the time in the NFL.
Yeah. I also think that, and you kind of brought it up there, people write off that Chiefs game. Defense won the game in that game if the Bengals were to win it. I really do think. The defense allowed, 17 points in that game?
Yeah, because the fumble.
So people overlooked that one. In the Patriots game, say whatever you want about that disaster, that was all on the offense. That
16 points.
That had nothing to do with the defense.
Right.
So I think, I don't know. There's a couple outliers for sure. But you play the Commanders, who are the hottest offense in the NFL, and I don't know if the Bengals are ready. I don't think they maybe believed the hype. Buy the hype. They didn't. I don't think they were buying that hype.
Oh, they totally just looked over that game.
Yeah. And then the first half of that Ravens game, they looked good. They looked better. Not good. Better. Second half was a disaster. But there have been moments where the defense has been good. So that's what I'll credit them for. Do I trust the defense to get stops? No, but
I now trust the defense to get a stop.
Yeah.
I set the line at 2.5 a game now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Instead of 0. That's a positive.
Yeah, 0 stops is tough. I'm not gonna
The one
lie.
thing that we can't get comfortable doing is punting 8 times.
Nope, can't happen again. And this is
but big time shout out Ryan Rico for your full negative.
yeah,
Great day, 8 punts, 354 yards, 4 inside the 20.
that's right.
He's a killer.
He is.
Absolutely booting it, that thing. Let's never do it 8 times again.
Yes.
Please. Let's move the ball a little bit. I mean, that was infuriating.
Throw
to
the ball.
watch.
Throw the football. We can run when we need to run, but you don't, like Jacob said, we ended the game with 8 straight runs, 7 straight runs.
Yeah.
Throw the ball. You have Joe Burrow. You have 2 elite pass catchers. At some point, trust the offense.
How many times has Zach Taylor sat at the podium and said, well, we consider the short passing game an extension of our run game?
Yeah.
Well, let's use it in these milking the clock situations. That means you don't have to just run Chase Brown into the guard's back 9 times in a row.
And that's the key there, especially if the run game's not working.
Right.
I don't mind running the ball late in games to milk the clock, as most teams with the lead do, right? But when the run's not working, you can't continue to keep handoff when it's not working. Now, like I said, if they're handing it off and you're getting 3-4 yards a carry, don't drop back and pass. Keep eating those yards on the ground. Keep eating the clock. But when they're, your punter is getting tired out there because you keep rolling them out there, because you keep setting up these, 3rd and long situations. That then when the pass game does come out, then the Browns just send everyone and attack that vulnerable O-line late in that game. But it's just kind of the reason I asked about that is because I see the people saying, why are you excited you beat the Giants and Browns? First of all, I don't care about the NFL. It's so tough to pick games anymore because even the bad teams can win. My problem is not that I'm not discounting the wins that the Bengals have had the last 2 weeks, but I'm questioning the style points. I know we think style points don't exist in the NFL. Everything is, well, as long as you win, that's all that matters. That's true. Some weeks you're not always going to have it, but it's back-to-back weeks where the offense has not prevailed. And the Giants' defense is good. The Browns' defense is good. And we could say, well, those defenses are good, but who do you think you run into? What do you think you have to go through to win the North? What do you think you have to go through to win in the playoffs? So this idea that, well, who cares? The Browns and Giants have a good defense, no big deal. I'm not saying panic, but you do got to start questioning what's happening with the offense because Joe Burrow's paid too much money and Jamar's about to be paid the highest or the most money at wide receiver in NFL. T. Higgins, a lot of people want. Well, you've always wanted him to stay, but there's pressure on the front office now to extend him and keep him because the gap between Jamar and Chase, between Jamar T and everyone else is quite large at this point. So the question I have is at what point do you start questioning, okay, we expect a little more offense. Like I get the Browns defense is good. I get that the Giants defense is good, but that's you have to run through those defenses. You have to be successful against those defenses if you want to win the North and if you want to accomplish your goal of winning a Super Bowl. That's where the criticism I think is fair to come in. Not, oh, well, who cares? It's only the Browns-Giants. It's no, the offense didn't perform well against the Browns-Giants, and that's your identity.
I think the counterpoint to that would be those are good defenses that you're playing against, and the offense did enough to win the football game. So I guess they are playing well enough. I'd rather have 17 points in a win than 38 points in a loss or 33 points in a loss. I don't know. At this point in this season, with the way it's gone so far, if the offense wants to score 20 points and that's how we're going to win football games now, I'll take it. I'm not gonna. If we go out and lose to the Eagles 30-10, I'll have problems with the offense.
Yeah.
Until then, as long as we're winning games where they're low scoring, until the offense doesn't score when they have to score, that's when I'll start having problems.
Do you think the Chiefs care that Patrick Mahomes looks terrible? I don't think they care because he's winning games.
That's
But
fair.
he's won Super Bowls.
Sure,
They've seen it.
D certainly gets the benefit of the doubt. I'm just saying Patrick Mahomes has objectively not looked good this season. Does he have more interceptions than touchdowns now?
He does.
But
But
he doesn't have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and he doesn't have the weapons that Joe Burrow does. I just mean I expect more when you have those weapons in 2 straight weeks. And to be fair, those guys are getting their numbers, but collectively as a whole, the offense
they got a
has
Hall of Fame
stunk.
tight end.
The Hall of Fame is stop. He's 85 years old and he's
I'm
fat
just
and he's
85 years
and
I'm just telling you what they got.
the only scoring he's doing is with Taylor Swift after the game. I mean, let's be real. He's not a factor right now.
I mean, the Steelers, they win every game ugly. Last night was a little bit different because the Jets are so incompetent that it's gross.
They win every game ugly, but no one has confidence in the Steelers. Might be a different conversation after last night. We'll talk about that later. But
And sure, the expectations for the Bengals are definitely different.
But they look like that when they had Mason Rudolph. They look like that when they had Justin Fields. They look like that when they had Kenny Pickett. It's not like they look like that with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Yeah. I just think that right now I've changed my expectations. I've thrown what I've thought of the Bengals before the season. I've thrown that out the window. That's gone now. Who the Bengals are now is a team that's trying to win games week by week, day by day. You take it one game at a time. I don't have Super Bowl expectations anymore. I'm just trying to get back to the postseason. This schedule is easy enough to make the postseason. And if they do not make the postseason, there will be conversations to be had. There will be. There will be conversations about Joe Burrow, the offense, Zach Taylor, and the defense. Everybody. There's no doubt about it. But as of right now, beating a divisional rival who you haven't beaten their home turf in 6 years, I'm not going to complain about this ugly win. No.
If you miss the playoffs, the AFC is shaping up. Look at the Browns are.
I know.
I
was looking at it yesterday.
The AFC, if you miss the playoffs, you have to try to miss it. I mean,
It's really bad.
The Browns lost because they're bad. Don't get me wrong, but there are people questioning that they're doing things on purpose to put them in position to lose, like the DTR thing yesterday. There are teams trying to lose games right now. Cleveland looking and appearing to be one of those. If you miss the playoffs in the AFC, you're trying to miss the playoffs, and you have to be bad to miss that because, the Jets. We'll get to that shortly, but the Jets, I don't get how you look as poor as you do with all that talent on that roster. I think that's more of a disgrace than anything else that's happening in the NFL right now. But nonetheless, the AFC is shaping up to be interesting.
Bengals currently in the 9 spot.
Moving up, like the Jeffersons, moving on up. It.
You got to win the next. You have to beat. You have to win 2 of the next 3.
So do you want to hear my cope math that I did?
Yeah.
Your what math?
Cope math.
Okay, I think you said
it's
cope
good.
math.
It's
I'm
good.
like, oh, okay.
I'm already getting ahead of if we lose to the Eagles this week.
Okay.
Which I think is smart.
Okay.
So
Cope. I like
and
that.
you're gonna
Cope
have to
math.
radio listeners bear with us here. Raiders, Chargers, Steelers at home, Titans, Browns, Broncos. That's 6 wins. That puts you at 9. I think I can confidently say I'm going to pick us in all those games.
Yep.
That means you have to win 1 of at Steelers, at Cowboys, at Ravens versus Eagles to make the playoffs. 1.
Super Bowl.
That feels good. That feels good. That's the best I've felt about it in a long time.
That's why it's I'm going to keep bringing up the Patriots loss. I know you guys and Reed and you say the beginning. Who cares with the beginning of the season? Because at the end they'll figure it out. Losing to the Patriots is gonna hurt.
When we end 12-5, I'm gonna clip that.
At some point, you have to be ready for seasons.
You're right.
Losing to the Patriots, and they are a disgrace. Losing to that game is going to hurt the Bengals at some point down the road here. I don't know when it's going to happen, and they can still make the playoffs. It can still hurt, and they still make the playoffs. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Well, it'll affect seeding at the very least.
Correct. So we'll see. We'll see. The Bengals have a very easy schedule. When I say there is zero excuse, I don't care how bad the defense is. There is zero excuse
100% agree.
to miss the playoffs back-to-back seasons when Joe Burrow is 100% healthy, for all we know. There's zero excuse.
Speaking of 100% healthy for all we know, did you see the league's leader in hidden injuries had another one? Sam Hubbard. Been playing with a broken pinky finger since week 2.
Really?
Yeah.
How about our boy?
Who knew?
First career interception, by the way?
Broken finger.
Unreal. How about that?
Yeah. Recovering from the hamstring injury no one knew about.
That's our boy.
Big shouts.
We'll see what
Toughness.
injury he comes
Love
back from
it.
next week.
Big shouts.
All right, this is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, ESPN 1410 Wing AM in Dayton. I'm looking at the bottom. We didn't change any of those. We kept them. Guarantee. Ha, 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 ha. He really guaranteed it. That's just too funny. Bengals win.
That's right.
I mean, we're almost through the whole show now.
I know.
Ha, 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 ha.
Coming up
ha,
next.
Ha, ha. Coming up next. Ha, 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 ha. Plus, we might follow that up with he really guaranteed it. More Off the Bench when we come back. All right, little AFC North scoreboard. Why is my face so red?
We have some sneaky Bengals breaking news.
Oh.
Well, in a roundabout, not very exciting kind of way, Bengals breaking news. Yeah, sorry to get your hopes up, but the Bengals play the Raiders in 2 weeks after the Eagles. It's just announced that Aiden O'Connell will miss 4 to 6 weeks with a broken thumb. That means Gardner Minshew is going to be coming into Cincinnati. in 2
Minshew
weeks.
mania
Minshew
running
mania.
wild.
Jorts and
Okay.
mullets. Jorts
Okay.
and mullets. No
That might be-
AOC in Cincinnati. She's too liberal for Ohio.
Oh, Ellie always with the politics.
That's right. Why do you bring it up?
Yeah,
Unreal.
like you said, like all Elliot.
You clowns.
We got. Is our Halloween show coming up a week from
It
Thursday?
is.
Do we know? Do you guys know what you're doing yet?
I might go as Kinner and just get really, really drunk.
What Halloween show? Which one are we talking about?
On the 31st, Halloween.
We do a show every day, Elliot.
Oh, you're talking. We're gonna do a Halloween show
Well,
here.
it's going to
Yeah.
be full costume.
I think we have a Halloween show at Champions as well.
We
on that
do.
Day. So
So, which means obviously 2 costumes.
double the costumes.
Yes.
Are you there on the 31st?
Yeah.
Oh, so that works out perfect. Costumes all day for you. My fear is that you all like, oh yeah, everyone wear a costume, and then Kinner shows up in costume.
That would be really.
And then you
funny.
guys are just dressed as is, and then I end up like, the what's the episode of The Office where she shows up? She's the only one that shows up in costume for Halloween.
That'd
that
be
day.
funny.
That'll be very, very funny.
Pam. But nonetheless,
AFC scoreboard.
AFC North scoreboard, yes. On top of that, so yesterday, what did the Ravens had a bye yesterday, right? No, What did
Ravens
the
play tonight.
have? Ravens, okay, they did not play yesterday.
Derrick Henry's going to score the first touchdown.
Yeah, there's a lot going. Let's introduce this right now.
Okay.
Because there's a lot. This
Had to get
Ravens
it in.
game tonight
I knew you were going
is
to.
a big deal for our guy Elliot here. Now,
I didn't know
we
Casey
love
was.
working with Elliot. We don't want Elliot to take a long vacation, but he was kind of sharing with us before the show that he may take a long vacation coming up if a particular thing happens. What is that particular thing, Jacob or Elliot?
What happened was Saturday night. I have a group chat with 4 people: Lewis, Max, and Andrew. Shout out. Each one of us picked a first touchdown score, and we parlayed it. Well, the initial parlay, the first one, I picked Kenneth Walker. Okay, we found out later that night that he was questionable with an illness. I don't know what was going on. So we're like, okay, so if you already made that parlay, fine, and some of us did, but we're gonna now make the real one. I'm gonna throw in Kareem Hunt instead of Kenneth Walker. So I have 2 parlays, 2 first touchdown parlays, and I already explained it, so I'm going to explain it again for those who missed it. I have 2 first touchdown parlays. 3 legs are the same on both. The difference is Kareem Hunt's on one, Kenneth's on the other. One's $10 to win $12,000. One is $8 to win $7,200. That's what's going on. The $12,000 one yesterday, 2 legs had already cashed at the 1 o'clock slate. And before the third leg hit, they were giving me a cash out of $270. I took it because I was afraid. I cashed it out, put 70 on Kyron Williams. He was the next leg of that parlay. So I then won $300 right there. So I've profited roughly $600 from that parlay. Cashed it out. It's mine now. The other parlay was still alive. Kyron hit, Kareem hit. So now 3 legs have hit, $8 to win $7,200. DraftKings, no free ads, they're now giving me a cash out of over $1,000. So that's what's going on. So I have to decide, do I want $1,300 in my pocket now?
Or are you a man?
Or I let the thing ride and believe in? Because here's the thing. I don't want to cash out of two things. If I cash out of both and it hits, I will feel so terrible. I'm already up $600. That's the way I look at this. I'm already up. Now I could take it and be up. What would that be up? 1,800? Which sounds good.
And be soft.
And be soft. So I still haven't fully made my decision yet. Some of the stats that go into this, the Buccaneers have scored the first touchdown in 5 of their 6 games.
My question to you is, did you not think of these stats before you placed the bets?
But it was each person made the bet. Each person picked a leg. I didn't make the whole parlay.
But you liked it enough to bet on it.
But that was a group thing. I didn't think it would ever get to this point, Jacob.
And you're here.
I know.
This is all you've ever wanted.
So okay, here's the stats, and maybe we'll do a poll question. Maybe we could do a poll question because I've asked 1 million people, and I think like 4% have said take the money. And by the way, the 4% are all the people in my group chat. We're in a 4-person group chat. 3 of them have cashed out. They cashed out before this morning.
Worst.
They cashed out before this morning. They cashed out immediately last night. So it's now me on an island while my 3 friends sit, and I think they're going to cheer against me because I'm the only one still riding it. But it'll be a big decision. It'll be a big decision. I'm gonna think about it today because $1,300 is a lot of money. It's a lot of coin for old Ellie Rue.
So what happens when you have $1,300 in your DraftKings and Derrick Henry scores the first touchdown?
Well,
that would be worse than losing it.
So it would be. But here's what would happen. If I were to cash out, I would put roughly, so for $1,300, I'd roughly put $800 on Derrick Henry to score first as some sick way to hedge. I'd rather have $500 than nothing. But if I'm going to put $800 on it, why not just let the thing ride?
Right.
That's my dilemma.
Because you're already up no matter what.
Correct. I'm up no matter what.
At that point, I would urge you to be aggressive and go for it. However, I do know that I am the most guilty of cashing out all the damn time. Like, cash out Kinner is the thing, and then if you put all the letters together, you can imagine what my nickname is.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
I'm just saying.
Yikes!
Everyone rips me for always cashing out. Always. Every time I'm in a position to win a big bet, I always cash out early just to guarantee that I come away with something because the pain of, oh, man, I could have had this, and I gambled and went for that, but that's what we do this for. It's gambling. And you have a chance to win some serious dough here. And no matter what happens, you're going to come away with a couple dimes.
Yeah,
let it ride.
Russell
Wilson to do. You got to let it ride.
Let Russ.
Do you want to be Mr. Unlimited or not?
I'm thinking. And one of the big questions yesterday: will I be more mad? Reed got in my head yesterday.
I know he did.
Reed got in my head yesterday,
text.
and the text was, do you have enough funds to responsibly wager $1,300 on a first touchdown bet? Now, obviously, that answer is no. I would be crazy if I actually bet $1,300 on a first touchdown bet. But I think it's a little bit different with this circumstance.
I agree. I think when I walked into this office the first day, I think you reached out your hand and you said, "Hi, I'm Elliot Rearing, and one day I'm going to hit a $10,000 parlay." Yeah. I think that's how I met you.
I think that was the first thing I said. Yeah.
And this is the closest you have ever or will ever get.
Listen, I'm going to talk with my counsel. I'm going to talk with the guys in the room on Box Lunch today. We're going to talk about it there, too. I'm going to talk about it until literally 8 p.m.
The funniest thing you could do is cash it out and just put it all on Derrick Henry first touchdown.
Yeah, here's the thing.
That would be very, very funny. But Casey, here's the other thing. And this is what I was thinking about, too, yesterday. If he were to not score and I cashed it out, it would feel really good.
It would feel really good.
It would feel so good that it honestly it might make the difference.
Here's the thing.
I think you should wait for the coin toss. At the very least.
They would cut the cash out in half, surely, right?
What if the Ravens win it doubles?
Yeah.
And then you're betting like $600
on
the coin toss.
I'm betting on the coin toss.
Yes.
I was wondering, can you put on a coin toss for a random game on a Monday?
Can you bet Ravens first possession? Because I'll hammer that. And then I'm riding with you for a bigger cash out.
Yeah, I
Ravens
don't
to
know.
win the coin toss.
But here's
Let's
the other
all
thing.
ride Ravens to win the coin toss so Elliott can cash out for $2,000 and then
here's
put
the other
1,000 on Derrick Henry for his touchdown.
I would do that, by the way. I would do that.
Here's the other thing, though.
If they give me $2,000, I'd cash out, put 1,000 on Derrick Henry. Go ahead, Casey.
The thing, though, is like you already cashed out a one. This is like the betting gods looking down at you and
I know.
saying, "Here's your second chance for immortality." Because the winning it is way bigger than cashing out at this point. Because it's not just you win all that money, but the amount of publicity that you also get for winning $8,000 on a 4-leg parlay is pretty nice too.
Casey and I have had this talk
Yeah,
too many times.
because we've made so many parlays.
So many. And by the way, we've only done one of them, us three in this room this year, which is sad. That one
leg away.
One leg away for that one. We'll see. I'll be thinking about it all day. I'll be talking about it. I'll be talking with my counsel.
The poll is so damn close.
What's the poll at?
It's split.
I
It's
think Trump.
51-49.
Oh, you meant this poll. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, this poll. It's like 51-49 right now.
He's the odds-on favorite to score the first touchdown.
He is.
He's the odds-on favorite to score the first touchdown.
Mark says if you live at home, let it ride.
I feel like that would be the opposite. I feel like if I live at home, I'd want the money.
No, I feel like this is the chance you have to gamble
Yeah.
$1,300 on a first touchdown score. If you had bills and utilities,
I wouldn't be able
groceries?
to. Elliot, I would not be able to do it. I would
Correct.
have to cash out.
You would
That's-
have cashed
that's a-
out?
that's
he
a
would
mortgage-
have to.
That's a mortgage
He just
payment
put a
for me.
roof on his house.
Okay,
Yeah,
but let me
that's
ask
a
you
mortgage
that. Let me ask you this: if you did what I did and had the two parlays, cashed out of one for 600, and then would you let this one ride?
Yeah.
Because if I would have let the
would.
other one ride, this decision's very easy. I cash out of the one for a couple thousand and let this one ride, and I'm not even talking about it. But because I cashed out of the other one so early,
You're already killing yourself for one cash out. Do you really want to be killing yourself for two?
we'll see. We'll see. I'm in a bad place.
And that's the Monday Night Football breakdown.
It sucks. It sucks.
It really is.
It sucks. In my group chat, the group chat I'm in, shout out to Lewis, Andrew, and Max. They cashed out so early and put my back against the wall. They all have 200. They all have the same bet. They all have $250 now
on Henry.
On Henry.
That I don't understand at all. At all.
So
Why would you not? Why would you cash out and then bet on Henry?
So we're gonna.
If you cash out,
correct.
you should just pick someone else in the game.
My thing,
that's what I would do.
my thing is, I don't know why we make the parlay or why we pick Derrick Henry if we were all going to cash out.
Right.
And that's the part I don't understand. But back,
it's not a hedge though.
Yeah.
You're not hedging anything if you cash it out and bet on Derrick Henry.
Correct. There is a part of me, Alex Wallace says, write it out for content.
That would be fun.
There is a part of me that does want to live stream myself having $7,000 on the line.
I want to be there. I want to be there just to see it. Whatever happens, I want to be there with Elliot.
If I was thinking about going to Eli's and just keeping the cameras going after the coach's show, but I'm not gonna lie. If it hit in Eli's, they would need to contain. They would need to forcibly subdue me.
What if it doesn't hit in Eli's?
I'd be really sad, and it's a long drive home.
But I think both options are great for the company.
Molly paid us $4.99 to say Elliot let it ride.
Oh my.
Can you add that $4.99
Oh, my.
to
By the way, the update of the poll, which is doing me no favors right now, 50% on both sides.
It's an even 50-50.
50% on both sides. We'll see, man. I'll talk about it later. I want to talk more about the Monday Night Football game yesterday, and I want to talk more about some of the other NFL games.
It'll be hard to talk
and the
about the
Bengals
Monday Night
as well.
Football game yesterday.
Huh?
It'll be hard to talk about the Monday Night Football game
Sunday Night
yesterday.
Football game. Sorry. Thank you. Good catch. Semantics, boy.
Semantics, boy.
Yeah, you told the world.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
We'll get to that. We'll keep you updated on this poll. But the poll, votes keep coming in. Some people, it's starting to pull. It's 52-48 now.
More people are letting it ride.
Yeah. Let it ride. I don't know. We're going to keep this poll up through the end
Tanner,
of the show.
what would you have done?
At this point,
You would have cashed out before the third one even hit.
I would have cashed out before that. You're right. But if I'm in this spot, I've already come away with money. I don't look at the money that I would lose if this bet doesn't hit. I would look at what I've already won and come away with at this point. I say you be aggressive. To Jacob's point, have you ever been this close? Like when you look at a parlay to win 10,000 or whatever it is, the total is, there's like a lot of legs that have to hit. Right now, it's just coming down to one leg for that total.
Yeah.
And it's
You
not
have
that
an
it's not that
8 to
obscene.
win 7,000 bet out right now on one first touchdown score. Instead of thinking about having $1,300 on it,
Yeah.
think about having Derrick Henry first touchdown at this value. 8 to win 7,000.
Yeah, that sounds good.
What's the boost on that?
Yeah, that's the boost is.
What's the boost on that?
The boost is $1 million.
Right. Think about it like that's a good spin zone. Think about it like that.
Getting dizzy.
That's good.
Before we go to
Dizzy
break,
over here.
letting it ride. It leads the poll 53%.
There you go. It's it's that time of year. It's all about the polls.
That's right.
That's all
It's all
about the polls.
All right, this is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, ESPN 1410 Wing AM in Dayton. Bengals victory Monday, and it's a clown losing Monday for me over here. I have to eat it today, and I have. Whatever. I did forget the donuts. I apologize. There will be donuts. Great donuts. The best donuts you've ever had
best donuts.
right here on this desk when you guys walk in tomorrow.
I better.
Or when I walk in tomorrow, because I'll probably get here after you. Let
Okay,
me be real.
sounds great.
All right, but more Off the Bench when we come back. All right, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here. And one tweet that I just saw that caught my attention with a bunch of laughing emojis was the fact that, don't forget, Hard Knocks, AFC North edition coming in December. Can't wait to get to this episode.
Oh, boy.
Can't
my
wait for that
gosh.
Browns portion of this little run right here. I mean,
I keep forgetting about that.
we knew it would be the most intriguing division in football, but not for all of these reasons. The Bengals digging themselves out of a hole. The Browns trying to find a hole deep enough to bury them all in. The Steelers all of a sudden look like a real contender after one game with Russell Wilson, which we'll get to. Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, they're the only ones doing what they normally do, except they added a new wrinkle with Derrick Henry. The AFC North is fire. It's wild. But, yeah.
I'll tell you what. When who was it? Was it Garrett yesterday that said he was a model citizen?
Yeah.
When I heard that quote, I mean it's an audible laugh out loud. Where were you yesterday watching the Bengals-Browns game?
I was at a sports bar, no free ads.
What were the vibes in there when he went down?
Was it Browns or Bengals predominantly first?
It was more Browns fans than Bengals fans.
What were the vibes when he went down?
So let me say this. This is not me defending Browns fans. Like, this idea that fans were cheering the injury, I honestly do not believe that to be the case. What fans were cheering is Deshaun is out. Now, that's a spin. I get that. But, I don't think anyone sits there and truly feels, they may say it. Some people say it as a joke. Man, I hope he snaps his leg, whatever. Okay, there are some horrible people out there. But when Deshaun Watson went down, what that signaled to fans was, oh, finally, let's see what we have behind him. I still think it's more football than anything. Fans across all sports, it really is more about sports than anything else. I don't put a whole lot, I don't put a whole lot of moral credence into these athletes on who they are as people, because the bottom line is there are athletes that you think are good people that if you really found out the way they treated their friends, the way they talk to their parents, the way they treat women, you probably wouldn't respect them that much. Even the guys that you think are some of the best people out there. Doing this business, you work around professional athletes and college athletes all the time. They're not always the best people.
Yeah.
Let's just be real. All right, let's stop. And the reason why it's easy for me to sit here and not, for instance, it's political season. We have celebrities and athletes trying to tell you who to vote for. And I think that's just so weird to me. Because what they're doing is saying you're not smart enough to have an opinion of your own. You need to do what I say because I'm an influencer. I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. I don't put any stock into who athletes are as people, good or bad. So when it comes to these situations, I'm cheering for you based on what you could do for me as an athlete on the field or off the field, on the court or off the court, with the bat in your hand, without a bat in your hand, with the ball in your hand, without the ball in your hand, on the ice or off the ice. Did I miss anything with the club in your hand, without the club in your hand? Bottom line is, for me personally, the reason I feel uncomfortable with this is because I know for me personally, I never base my sports opinion off of who these people are as people, because the bottom line is they're all kind of scummy people based on a lot of people's standards, based on how they talk to their parents, how they treat their family, how they treat their friends, how they treat people on the street, how they treat women, this, that, and the other. We all pick and choose. We want to pretend to be morally better than everybody else, but we're all equally pieces of crap. Let's just be clear. There's some that are worse than others. No doubt.
There were some a
and
lot
this
worse
is
than others.
not me defending Deshaun Watson. All I'm saying is I'm not going to do the whole, it's okay to boo him because of what he was accused of. No, I'm saying it's okay to boo him because I don't think that people were booing a human being getting hurt. They were booing a football player that's not good now out of the equation. That may sound aggressive on my end, but that's really how most people view sports. The reason people get mad when race gets brought up is because most fans don't tune into sports to be lectured on race. They tune into sports to be entertained and to watch sports, not to be lectured. They don't want to be told that they're racist when they tune into sports. They don't want to be told that fans don't want to be told that you're a bad person when you tune into sports. They just want to tune into sports to be entertained. Why do we need to over-romanticize these athletes when they don't give a damn about us? They don't give a rip about us as fans. I mean, they could say, we appreciate the fans. The fans really brought it tonight. Okay, cool. What else are they going to? I mean, they love playing in front of us, no doubt, playing in front of a lot of people. But on a personal level, why do I need to over-romanticize you as a human being when you don't do that for us fans? And I'm not asking you to do that for us fans. I'm just being very realistic with this. I mean, you could say, wow, you don't look at these athletes as people. I never said that. But at the same time, when I watch a movie, I don't care who that actor is or actress is. I don't care who they vote for, don't vote for. I don't care what they do in their spare time. Half the time, I don't even look up what these actors, actresses do in their spare time. If that actress or actor makes me laugh during a movie, great. I'm entertained for that stretch of time. Movie's done. Boom. Turn it off. Off I go with my day. Same thing with sports. Why do we need to overcomplicate this and constantly let who these people are on and off the field or off the courts or off the screen dictate how we watch sports? I don't care. I don't let athletes or celebrities tell me who to vote for. I don't let athletes or celebrities tell me what foot fungal cream to buy. I don't let any of that stuff. I don't care. I hate McDonald's. Oh, look, Shaq's on a McDonald's commercial. Now I like McDonald's. I just don't care. And maybe you guys are different. I don't know. But based on how I view it yesterday, when the fans started cheering that Deshaun Watson was down and the fans that were cheering when Deshaun Watson went down at the stadium, you could sit there and say, man, they actually were cheering a human being, with an injury. You could be sensitive and have your feelings hurt based on that. Or you could look at a group of fans that are like booing the quarterback who's in the way of this team accomplishing what really the only thing we care about is winning when it comes to sports. Stop over-romanticizing sports to the point where we try to psychoanalyze every single human being's reaction to anything that happens on the field. Myles Garrett, love you, but spare me with the BS stuff in the postgame about how disappointed you are and everybody. We're disappointed. You're 1-5, 1-6. What's the record? 1-6?
6.
Yep.
Yeah, we're disappointed in that. We're disappointed in that. I'm disappointed in a lot of things with this Cleveland Browns team, but you're disappointed because we booed a quarterback that's in the way. You booed the injury. No, we cheered the injury. We didn't cheer the injury. We cheered the fact that, oh, look, he's not gonna take another snap this game. We might actually have a chance. That's really what this comes down to. At the end of the day, it is all what it comes down to. If Joe Burrow, when he goes down injured, fans didn't cheer when he got injured. Why? They booed and they were upset because there goes their season.
Ravens fans cheered.
Well, they're scummy human beings. The Ravens fans are the worst. I mean, let's just be real. No. But the bottom line is, again, why did they cheer when Joe Burrow went out? We have a chance to win this football game. It's not a matter of, I don't know. I hate when we do this. We over-romanticize sports and the individual. I don't do that. More of you probably do than I do. But I don't give these individuals a whole lot of stock into dictating how I think, how I feel, what decisions I make, who I vote for, what food I buy, what internet company I use, what fungal cream I buy. I don't have foot fungus, just to be clear. I just want to make that clear. But I think you see the point of it. What sports book I use. All right, I'm going to go with the sports book that gives me the better odds, not the sports book that Caitlin Clark or whoever tells me to use. I don't know. But this fake moral, we're so disappointed. And what was that, Jameis Winston? What was that with your serial killer Dahmer glasses on in the post game, preaching to everybody about this, that, and the other, about how you were what does how you were raised have to do with anything with how the fans reacted to Deshaun Watson going out yesterday? Do I think it's okay to cheer a player's injury? I'm not saying I'm for it. I don't know. I don't care. I just don't. I don't over-romanticize these athletes to the point where I'm going to shed a tear or I'm going to smile or I'm going to be angry or anything. Play football, win football games. That's where it ends with me. With the basketball in your hand, dribble it, don't turn it over, put the ball in the hoop, win basketball games. That's all I care. Hey, Francona, cool. Love you as a manager. You're funny. You make me laugh. Win baseball games. Because if you make me laugh after you lose baseball games, that's cool. Don't care. Win me baseball games. I don't care. If that makes me a bad person, so be it. But I'm not. We don't do this with actors. We don't do this with anything else. We clearly have shown when it comes to politics that we can compartmentalize who these people are as people, right? Like, there's a lot of bad things with both parties, with both candidates. We could sit there and strip both candidates down to what makes them both horrible people. But both parties overlook both sides to vote for who they want to. We could do that there. We could do that here. I don't care. I just think this whole scolding the fan base thing is just ridiculous. Jameis Winston, Myles Garrett, y'all can spare me with all that garbage. And I like those guys. But with this, stop it. Stop it. Whatever. You're 1-5. Shut up. Go win football games.
Yeah, I think I'm with you for the most part until you boo a player who's hurt on the field. I think that's bottom of the barrel human being stuff, and you just shouldn't do it because, like you said, don't over-romanticize people. They're just people like everyone else, and when you tear your Achilles on the field and to have 60,000 people cheering and happy about it, and you can say whatever the reason was. They were happy Deshaun Watson got hurt, and they cheered for it, and they booed him when he wasn't hurt before the game, and the immediate reaction when he goes down and is writhing in pain is to cheer. I think that's pretty scummy, so...
And to be clear, I know you might want to say we don't know what exactly they were booing for. Maybe they were booing that their season's bad. They were booing for him to be hurt. We've talked about it on this show.
They were happy he got hurt.
What if Deshaun got hurt? Our season would be saved.
They're happy he's out. They're happy he's out.
The only way to get him out is to get him
They're
hurt.
happy they're happy he was carted off that field.
They are, yes.
They're happy
he was in physical pain.
And again,
I don't think they're happy he's in pain. They're happy that he is no longer taking snaps, that he is no longer the quarterback of the Browns. That's what I think they're cheering.
And I think there's a different time and place for that than when he's on the field and on the card. If that's
so, you want people to go to a sport where everyone is just throwing back drinks left and right to all of a sudden just be very nice, calm,
and not cheer when someone's hurt on the field.
I just disagree. I don't think anyone's truly happy that he's hurt. They're just happy that he's not on the football field.
I think there was a large set of Browns fans that were very happy he was hurt. Very happy.
I know.
And by the way, and here's the thing. I will never, like, there's people on Twitter who or whatever it's called now. There's people on Twitter who will say, why go to the game if you're going to boo? Why go to the game if you're going to... I disagree with that. If you pay tickets, you're going to go watch your team, and they're not performing up to expectations, boo them.
I said to boo him before the game. I was pro that last week.
And they booed him. They booed when he ran onto the field, they booed as loud as they could possibly boo.
Which was fine.
But when your Achilles pops out of your leg, and you get carted off, and you're visibly upset, and 60,000 people of your fan base, your fans, are all booing you, I think that's wild. I'm not going to say if it's right or wrong. I'm just going to say that is absolutely wild that happened.
And no, again, we all pretend to be high moral when we're on camera. There was no jokes to your friends on text about how happy you were that he got hurt. Like, we're going to pretend on camera that you were like, to my friends, oh, man, I need to go to a Catholic church and get on my knees and pray for Deshaun Watson Day. We're all pretending to be high moral people.
I was on a live stream. You can check my reaction. What I
said to my friends is the Bengals actually might be in trouble right now.
My first reaction was worried about a loss.
But you weren't upset. You weren't concerned.
I'm not saying you have to be concerned.
You
don't have to be concerned. You just don't need to cheer.
They weren't. Like I said, if Deshaun Watson was a good they were simply cheering the fact that he is no longer the quarterback.
I think they would have cheered a benching and an Achilles the same way.
They had booed him the whole game. They had booed him the entire game.
I also think it's a little crazy to say no Browns fans were excited he got hurt.
Oh,
that's
look,
crazy.
You can never say definitively every single human being out there is not a psychopath.
Do you think the majority?
I'd say the majority of the people are not psychopaths that are actually happy that someone is writhing in pain on the field.
I'll say 49%, I would say, are happy.
So Alex Ketter in the chat, I think that's how you say that name. If it's not, please correct me. Alex in the chat says, I was in a bar in Cleveland yesterday, and everybody was cheering and doing the Browns chant, saying they were going to a Super Bowl when he went down.
So they had a football opinion about it.
Well,
yeah, that's my point.
That's pretty disgusting.
That's my point.
I don't know if that's what I took away from that. But listen.
I'm not happy he's hurt, by the way, but that's my point. Like, in my head, like, it's not even going anywhere into a place where I'm like, oh, good, I'm glad his Achilles tore, whatever the heck happened. It's just one of those things where I'm like, man, that sucks. But right off the bat, my mind goes right into football mode. Like, all right, well, who's coming in now to replace him? That could make me a horrible person, fine. But again, stop over-romanticizing this. No one's really cheering the pain of somebody else. I don't know. I just, not me.
I think they definitely
I just think they were doing that.
Yeah,
and listen, Deshaun Watson, everybody in the chat, everybody that listens, they know my thoughts on Deshaun Watson. I don't think he's a particularly good human being. But I think what happened yesterday was something that I've never seen before, and it kind of took me back a little bit. Like, okay, an entire city hates their own players so much that they will boo when he gets carted off. And as an athlete, I do think that it's tough because I think what you said there, you kind of maybe got off track a little bit with the politician stuff, but I do think you were mostly right that I think, it's, well, these athletes are humans and these athletes are human beings and it's, you have to treat them like you treat your best friend or your dad or your mom. I do think at some point there's a difference between an athlete and a fan, and I think the fan has to, of course, show respect to the athlete. I don't think you can just throw things, like throwing beer bottles at Ben Roethlisberger when he gets carted off.
Throwing stuff on the field gets calls overturned now.
Wrong. We'll talk about that later. Wrong decision.
I'm going to do that every time now.
Yeah. So I don't think it's like you have to be like, oh, Deshaun, he was this good guy. He's a human. And Deshaun's, I don't think he's a very good person. And I think what happened yesterday was you saw a city root against a bad person in a situation that the Cleveland Browns organization set up for themselves. This is a guy that's failed. It's the project is lost. It's a failed project. You paid him a boatload of money, and you're going to set your franchise back years. And I think part of it was the fans booing that.
I think that's really what – I mean, you go to a football game to not cheer on people. You're cheering on football players or booing football players. I just don't think in that moment all of a sudden now we got to change our mentality at a sporting event. And again –
I think even regardless of what you're cheering for, cheering at that point in time is wrong.
I just don't think they're not cheering the injury. They're cheering, good, finally, get off the field. We need someone that can go out there and compete. Not saying that that's my mindset. I'm just saying I don't think it's as horrific as what people are trying to frame Browns fans to be, because that's what this is also turning into, is Browns fans are just so horrible. This happens across all sports all the time. And now when your star player goes down, that doesn't happen.
I don't know that I've ever seen a home team boo.
Is there any other team that's in this situation that Cleveland's in?
Is there any other quarterback that's done the things off the field Deshaun Watson's done?
Yes, there was. Steelers fans cheered it. They were happy with it. They were fine with it.
I guess we can't. We're not going to do comparisons here.
Kobe.
27.
I mean, we're going to sit here and do this.
I don't want. This is a road I don't want to go down.
No, we are, because this goes back to my point. We compartmentalize all the damn time.
I don't think there's a
Everything
situation
is always
remotely close to what's going on in
compartmentalizing.
Cleveland.
And you said I got off track with politics. No, I'm going to lean back into that. You look at both candidates. You could find things about both that are reprehensible. And you're going to still vote for one of them. Why? Because, well, I mean, again, who they are as people doesn't impact me. The policy. That's how people vote. That's how people have justified.
I wouldn't cheer if the other one got hurt.
Oh, my gosh. You saw what this country did when one particular individual was almost assassinated
and I think it's disgusting. People would cheer at that.
But the bottom line is, like, the people are not associating them as people because those people don't associate us as people. And the same thing here with these athletes. It is what it is. We could pretend, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose. Did any of you lose sleep at night? Did you include Deshaun in your prayers last night? Or are we only pretending to be morally good people because the camera's on us?
I did not include
That's
Deshaun
what
in
I
my
thought.
prayers last night.
That's what I thought. Like,
we're not saying you have to be tore up for his injury. We're saying you don't need to cheer with him hurt.
If you're not, these people aren't tore up about the injury. They're not happy about the injury. They're happy he's no longer the quarterback. It's as simple as that.
Then be happy without cheering.
Oh, I must have missed that number in the rule book. I didn't know.
I do not think you should cheer when someone's hurt. I don't care what the reason is.
I'm not saying you
happy.
should cheer someone when they're hurt. I'm just saying this idea that the Browns fans are just totally just booing an injury.
But I'm saying the reason doesn't matter. The reason does not matter.
In your opinion. But, I
think in most people's
opinion. And again, when you have no emotion in this, it's easy to judge everybody else. It's easy to judge everybody, and that's what's happening here.
It's easy to try to spin and defend your fan base, too.
I'm not defending the fan base. I'm defending any fan base that is put in this spot.
No fan base has ever
I just
done
talked
this.
about politics. I talked about every single thing that includes this type of mindset, this
no
groupthink
sports
mindset.
fan base has ever booed their own star player hurt on the field or cheered him injured.
And I just asked you to explain another situation that was similar to this one. The
And
fans
there's
were
not
already,
one.
they were booing him the whole game. They wanted him out the whole game. This was an opportunity. This is what they were cheering. No longer the quarterback. Get him off the field.
And it was disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Reprehensible.
Thoughts and prayers. I hope you. I can't believe how you continued with that show yesterday.
It was
with
terrible.
With the chaos.
It's the first thing I brought up
watched.
when you joined because I thought it was disgusting.
So disgusting.
Yeah.
So gross. Man, T's and P's that people had to witness what they witnessed yesterday. Man.
Glad my fan base wouldn't.
We'll see.
Your fan base didn't start going to games until 5 years ago.
I was there.
And your fan base is why you couldn't even put your games on TV for how many years?
Well, I went to the stadium.
Jesus Christ. Off the bench, presented by you.
Off the
What
bench.
the hell was this supposed to be?
We knew what this show was going to be today. We knew that.
And you're smiling.
I love it.
What are you smiling for? Because Deshaun got hurt?
I'm not.
You're a horrible person, dude.
I'm not cheering for Deshaun Watson. I'm not cheering against Deshaun Watson to be hurt. I'm neutral. I'll just watch it as it is.
More off the bench next.
Sports.
More sports. How we feeling today?
Great.
Victory Monday.
I feel great.
I'm
Bengals
very glad we didn't lose.
Bengals season's back. Bengals season's back on. They're 3-4. I needed this win, and they gave it to me. So that's all I asked for. I do think. By the way, have you seen the spread of the Eagles game yet?
No.
Oh, no. What is it?
Do you want to guess?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna
Let's
say,
guess that line.
is it F? It's no. It's
No, it's here.
Cincinnati.
It's
It's here.
home.
It's here.
I'll say Bengals 3.5.
No way.
Bengals 1.5.
Bengals. Yeah, Bengals won.
As of yesterday, Bengals bought. Do you know the answer?
2.5.
2.5.
All right. What's wrong with that line?
It's too high.
I
Way
like
too high.
I like the Bengals to win this game.
I
By the way,
I wanted to be an underdog.
They
real
beat
bad.
Philly, and I'm all in on Cincinnati. I mean, not
I am
all in as a
too.
fan.
I am too.
If the Bengals beat Philadelphia,
Yeah.
they have 100% of my trust the rest of the way that this is a legit back to a Super Bowl contender. I think right now they're a playoff contender, but you beat Philly, I'll be in here in October, heading into November, that they're a Super Bowl contender.
Saquon Barkley just had 200 total yards, and they had 8 sacks against the Giants. This is a matchup nightmare with 2 star wide receivers on the outside.
Yeah.
I am very nervous for this game. It's the biggest test you could ask for on paper with matchup problems and how we're going to have to move guys around. Orlando Brown's injury is crucial.
Big game. By the way, we haven't talked about it yet. Saturday, anything happen on Saturday?
Nothing.
I just. Do you think? I got a question.
I thought something happened.
Do you
Nothing
think
happens
Alabama is a top coaching job in the country?
That's a good question.
Because I'm trying to think right
That's
now.
a good question.
How many losses does Alabama have?
Dose.
Interesting.
You
I was just looking at the Bearcats.
Oh, how many losses do you see have?
Well, I was just looking at them, and I was just thinking to myself.
Maybe
And it
Satterfield
just-
might coach his way to Alabama.
It was right around the same number, I think.
Do they have the same number?
I think it was right around.
Do they have a number before their name, or
I
just
w-
after?
Well, right now, it's just the after, but we'll see.
Pitt.
I forgot about Pitt. Pitt's undefeated.
Oh yeah, who's their quarterback?
I don't know.
Alabama outcast. Scout team.
I'm
2 years
just
ago.
I'm just saying this is tough to be an old Alabama fan right about now.
Yeah. No. Well,
I bet on Tennessee.
Oh, you're such a hater.
it was such an easy bet. There was. I said preseason that Tennessee was going to win this game. They
You're
did.
such a hater.
It stunk. It stunk. Look, there's no way around it. Losing that game, I think it's the biggest rivalry in the SEC. And I love that game. Third Saturday in October is my second favorite game of every single year behind Ohio State, Michigan. I love them. Love that game. Love that rivalry to death. And just see them storm the field again and tear down the goalposts again.
Yeah.
Really, really stinks. But second win in 20 years. So good for that upstart program.
Yeah.
Maybe that fat coach will lose a few pounds.
By the way, somebody in the chat says talk about UC basketball. Yeah, UC basketball is a wagon. UC basketball is a wagon. I will credit Xavier. I watched a little.
Didn't they beat Ohio State? UC?
UC beat Ohio State in the charity exhibition
Yeah.
thing, and Xavier beat Dayton in Dayton, and Xavier looked good. UC looked good. It's going to be a fun year for basketball in Cincinnati. It's going to be. I'm gonna make a statement here. This is going to be the most exciting crosstown shootout we've had since the zip 'em up game.
Oh.
I think this will be a thriller.
We can go full circle here. I'll bet you Alabama finishes better than UC in both football and basketball.
Okay, Jacob's still here.
You brought it up.
Listen, I do think that UC basketball and Xavier basketball, both programs are elite right now. UC, if they play like they did against Ohio State in this charity exhibition thing, they're a wagon.
Timeout on that.
Big 12's going all the way.
I'm all in. First of all, Xavier, Cincinnati. We're going to be very, very good this year, no doubt. But what I will not allow to happen, and this isn't a UC Xavier opinion, this is college basketball across the board. Now listen closely. Charity exhibition game. You're not allowed to base anything off of a charity exhibition game.
But that's where
I am
that's
saying
where I think you're
I
wrong.
want to be clear. Cincinnati Xavier are really good, but I know it's facing Ohio State, and when you beat Ohio State, any opportunity you can to say, man, look how good they looked against the Ohio State. I get that. Two things could be. Cincinnati's really, really good.
Yeah.
Charity, exhibition game. Now, you said you disagree.
What other games have they played this year that you can get irrationally excited about?
None, but
There you go. There you go.
You get excited about preseason games?
Yes! You know, I sat in this chair and went off about the Bengals offense because they ran a 4-play drive against backups.
And also, and my favorite, this is my favorite preseason take. The Bengals' second-string defense.
So
look
good.
what it did to the starters for the Bears.
That's
look
right.
what it did. Preseason football, ladies.
That's exactly what you do.
Charity exhibition.
That's what
basketball.
fans do. You get excited about things that don't matter. Does this matter? No. Is it exciting? Yes. There we go.
And this is why secret scrimmages exist, because coaches' egos, they don't like this stuff getting out. You know,
I love when secret scrimmage scores get tweeted and people respond. They're like, "That's not the actual score."
Yeah.
All right.
It's like, they weren't even keeping foul. Whatever. But no, Dayton did not look good. They
Congrats.
It's wild when you take Deron Holmes off the floor. All of a sudden, you're not that good. But
You victory lapping yet or waiting?
Charity exhibition game.
You
They're
can't
probably
count it?
really good.
All right.
They're probably really good. Yeah, nonetheless. But
Let's check it on the poll. 80 votes,
It's still close.
54-46.
It's still close, man.
54-46. Other football news.
last night's Sunday Night Football game.
Last night's Sunday Night Football game. The Jets, and I do think we had an expectation about the Jets coming into this year. Defense real good. You
Yeah.
have Aaron Rodgers back. They were one quarterback away. I think they're just incompetent. I think it's an incompetent organization. I don't think anybody can save them at this point. They're 2-what? 2-6 or 2-5?
5, correct?
2-5. I don't think there's a way back from it. Good luck to them the rest of the way. I think they're out of it. I know you guys want to say that the Dolphins with Tua are going to be a different. I think the Dolphins are terrible too. And truly, I think that's the Bills' division. I think the Bills win that division by 2.5, 3 games. Nobody's going to sniff the Buffalo Bills. And that's why you talk about the Bengals.
Do you think either of those teams are wildcard teams?
Who?
Jets or Dolphins?
Not even close. As of right this second, I don't think they sniff it. I think the Colts are a better team. I think the Colts are absolutely a better team right now than the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. 100%. I think if this is a real sicko opinion, would I take the Broncos over the Jets right now at home in Denver? Yeah, I would. I probably would, and I hate Denver. I think Bo Nix is not a good quarterback. But this is the state of the AFC. Bengals just take advantage, and that's why saying all these they're beating bad teams, bad rosters. When every roster's bad, take advantage of it.
Right. How many wins would people characterize as great wins? 3?
Yeah.
4 wins in conference? But Buffalo, Baltimore, Houston, or Kansas City would be called a good win. No one else?
Yeah.
Maybe Pittsburgh?
But this is why the Eagles game is so important.
100%.
Not just Eagles win. You win that. You win, but you beat the Eagles ugly. It's one thing.
But we beat the Eagles, and the Eagles turn around and lose to the Jaguars or Cowboys, and that's no longer a good win anymore.
But it's but the only thing you can control, because I agree. I saw some people in the chat earlier say you can't control who you play. I agree with 1,000,000%. But what you can control is how you look while playing them. And I think that's where the fair criticism comes into play about the offense over the last 2 weeks. I don't want to repeat what we talked about earlier, but it's not discrediting the wins, because wins in the NFL are wins. But what you want to see in a win is, I think some of you felt better. You didn't feel good after the losses, but you felt better about who you thought the team was after some of those losses as opposed to what you feel after the wins. The wins feel great, but if the Joe Burrow and the offense that's been the last 2 weeks goes up against Philly, they're not winning that football game. In my opinion, they're not winning that football game if the offense.
Defense just rocks, which would be a cool development.
That would be a very new wrinkle.
That would be sweet.
And Aruma should be a head coach. Maybe the
be
Bengals
cool.
head coach. I don't know.
What if Lou gets a head coaching job next year after all of this?
Robert Salah.
We're just the top 10 defense rest of the way.
We had a thumbnail for Robert Salah as defensive coordinator for the Bengals not too long ago.
We did. Speaking of things we did not too long ago that are laughable and hilarious, do you remember we bought or sold if Jalen Milroe was the number 1 quarterback in the NFL draft class?
Yeah, I did that.
Brother's not a first-round pick.
Yeah, it's tough.
He stinks.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I love him to death, and I would die for him.
Cleveland's taking him with the 3rd overall pick.
Probably. He stinks. His regression is alarming.
It's tough. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty brutal. I was in on Milroe.
I was too.
After the Georgia game.
I still think I'm in on him at a college level to get us to a place where we can win some games this year. But I love Milroe. Everett's getting on my case now. That's your guy. I do. I love Milroe. He's my favorite college quarterback to ever play for not Ohio State. He needs to be better if they're going to win games. And watching the All-22 yesterday after the loss to Tennessee, someone told him he's not allowed to run anymore.
Yeah.
Because there are lanes where he was taking off last year and he's not running anymore. And I don't know why, but I was thinking watching that game yesterday as he sailed open receiver after open receiver. Wow, we all unanimously bought number 1 quarterback in the draft class 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, have we ever had this many top 5 matchups in college football so early in the season? I mean, it's not early. We're at the halfway point now, but I just mean like here we are we're mid-October. We're past mid-October, and we've already had like 3 top 5 matchups in the NFL already. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
And there's going to be probably another Ohio State, Penn State. That'll probably be it. Who knows if Indiana keeps going down this way. You see they lost their quarterback.
They're a good team.
I like last week I was telling people we were taking some calls on my show in Dayton, and everyone was getting a little too high in Indiana. I said, let's stop. Don't get good story mixed up with, or don't mix up great story with great football team, because I think Indiana's one hell of a story. I think Illinois has been a very, very good story, but are they truly threats to Ohio State? Illinois probably not, but Indiana's starting to. I don't think I'm picking Indiana to beat Ohio State, but if Ohio State doesn't have their best game, or it doesn't come with their A game, I think they could be in for a fight. But what I saw over
I don't
the
know
weekend,
how Indiana doesn't go 11-1.
Indiana, that offense is a difference, especially in the Big Ten.
Who are they going to lose to?
Now their quarterback might be out for a few weeks. That's
That
the
will
concern.
kill them.
Was it O'Rourke? Is that his name?
Yeah, Curtis Rourke from Ohio, from OU. He's been incredible this year, absolutely amazing. And he hurt his thumb, I believe. I mean, 15 touchdowns, 3 picks this year, almost 2,000 yards, completing 75% of his passes. I mean, he's been unbelievable. He's the reason that offense has been what it's been this year. And to lose him at this point in the season with everything in front of you on a 3-game stretch where you just take care of business and you're home free going to the playoff, that's brutal. And you got to hope he's back next week. They play Washington at home this week. Then they go to Michigan State and then Michigan at home.
Yeah.
Then they play Ohio State. If they win those 3 games before Ohio State game doesn't matter.
Yep.
Because you lose Ohio State, you take care of the worst team in the Big Ten in Purdue, and you're going to the playoff at 11-1.
Yeah, that college football, and again, November 5th, first playoff poll comes out. I'm curious if Indiana gets more respect in the playoff poll than the AP poll.
They're 13 right now.
Do you think that? I still think they should be higher.
You think?
I put them higher than Clemson. If Clemson, Indiana played today with Rourke at quarterback, who are you taking there?
I'm taking Clemson.
Like Clemson big or Clemson? Yeah. Okay, fair enough. And that's the brand of Indiana. That's my battle.
No, it is. It is.
My battle.
100% it is.
That's my battle. Is the brand of Indiana?
No, you're
giving
right.
them the love
That
they
is
want.
what it is.
As we wrap things
Who
up,
are you
here,
taking? If we're going to do head-to-heads right now, who are you taking, Alabama or Indiana?
Alabama who?
Alabama or Indiana. That's 13-14.
Alabama.
First of all, they have Indiana. I know this sounds crazy. They
Indiana
have
hasn't played anybody.
They have a better chance against Alabama than Clemson because Alabama has no defense. Like, that's Alabama's biggest problem, is that when you have no defense, you're vulnerable to anything, as we've talked about with Cincinnati. We should have all the most confidence in the world when you have Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase, but the defense was always the wild card over the last couple of weeks, having a little doubts about whether the Bengals can come out on top. And we've joked about your teams being very similar because the offense, although Milroe does look like he took a step or two back or a drink before the game, I'm not really sure, but that's kind of wild as far as that goes. But who knows? Last thing on the way out.
Vanderbilt ranked loss.
There you go. And that is
coaching jobs. Who's ranked 25?
Oh, I forgot you made this stupid take. I forgot you made this stupid take.
There we go, baby. Anchor down. Anchor down. Craig Levy's not taking the UC
I forgot
job.
you made
I'm
that
pretty sure
stupid
that's his
take.
name.
It's one game, not going to overreact, but I really painfully enjoyed watching Russell Wilson with the Steelers last night. I thought he looked great.
I know.
Looked pretty damn good.
Looked
terrible
start.
in the first half. Looked pretty damn
This
good.
is
in
That
what
was
I
the
think-
worst 2 or 3 drives I've ever seen.
Oh,
And then
it was the worst.
Yeah.
Wasn't remotely close to completing a
They
pass.
were
They were
kinda-
chanting for Fields.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we would almost saw Cleveland fan type stuff had he gone down with an injury. If that was the case, it would have been very close to that.
They panned the crowd, and every single Steelers fan, terrible towel in one hand, two's up in the other.
What was on those terrible towels, by the way? Did you see
No,
that?
what was it something else?
We'll talk about something
Oh,
else.
okay.
Russell Wilson, my whole thing with him was, and by the way, a little more mobile than even I. Like, you were not
Much
giving him
more
any
mobile
credit.
than
I
I
wasn't
expected.
giving him credit either, so I'm not doing this whole, you were wrong, I was wrong. He was more mobile than I actually anticipated him being.
100%.
Him throwing on the run is very accurate, the deep ball. And one thing I said last week, the one reason I think that they're going this route is because you have an elite wide receiver that you're not getting anything out of, and you can keep trying to stay in football games with Justin Fields and get disgruntled talent, which I think the one reason I think you've had the Chase Claypools and the Juju Smith-Schusters and the noisy receivers who actually have turned out not to be very good, by the way. But I think the reason that they became as loud as they did is because they were just pissed off. They weren't getting the football. Mason Rudolph stunk. Obviously, Kenny Pickett stunk. Geriatric Big Ben stunk. Like, all these guys stunk, but they kept winning with those guys. Kenny Pickett, they were 14-11 with Kenny Pickett at quarterback. They won with Kenny Pickett. Mason Rudolph wasn't good. 8-4-1 the Steelers were with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. They won regardless. They're 4-2 with Justin Fields. Like, winning was never, oh man, we need this quarterback to win football games. I'm not saying you could drop any quarterback back there and they win. Trubisky proved that. Trubisky was very bad in Pittsburgh from that perspective. But I think you just need average quarterback play to win games. But I think they were tired of just the average quarterback play. And they said, we got to see if Russell Wilson can elevate it. And he did. One game, though. It could all neutralize moving forward. But I will say this. If that is who Pittsburgh is, that's scary for Baltimore. It's scary for Cincinnati. And it's scary for most of the AFC because that might be, if that works out, that might be one of the most well-rounded offenses in the entire AFC at that point. That would be a concern. That would be a concern at that point.
Yeah, and they're taking care of business when it matters. I mean, 5-2, I guess you're beating everybody, but 4-1 in conference. There's only one other team in the AFC, two other teams in the AFC with 4 conference wins. And that's obviously what comes down to tiebreakers. And I know they're tied with the Ravens right now, but I think we all kind of unanimously think the Ravens are going to win this division and the Steelers are going to be fighting for a wild card spot as well. And that's the first thing I always look at when we're looking ahead to wild card. You know, everything else is conference record because that's the first tiebreaker. And Steelers are setting themselves up for an easy walk-in if there's other teams with the same record. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Bengals 1-3 in the AFC.
That would be like that team looked as good as the Ravens have looked all season, full season. That Steelers team is better than that Ravens team if that's who Russell Wilson is. But he's older.
We'll
get injured.
Week 18 Bengals-Steelers is going to be a play-in game. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee that.
And that's usually a game where guys are resting.
Right.
But that's
it's going
crappy
to be a play-in
game,
playoff
a physical game
yeah.
to play to get into the playoffs, and that's what's wild. And it could be for seeding, but nonetheless. The one thing we do know, the entire AFC North is still alive except for the Clowns.
Except for CLE.
All right, well, that wraps it up for us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I got the donuts for the guys tomorrow. I will remember. And if I don't,
allegedly,
my bad again. But until tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
Box lunch. All right, we got rid of him.
Yeah, thank God.
last 15, just the good guys.
Yeah, just the people.
No
in
more
here.
of that. No more of that nonsense.
Yeah, no Cleveland fans in here. He's by the way, he's still here. Now he's coming back in. He heard us.
Anyone get hurt so I could cheer for your injuries?
Go out there and take some notes. All right, so this is a boxed lunch. We're doing this for free. For everybody. Welcome on into Boxed Lunch. Boys, pretty big weekend we had.
Not really.
Well, some of us did.
What do you mean some of us?
You have a great big weekend.
So by the way, this system that I keep hearing about, getting slaughtered.
Sucks.
Getting slaughtered in the NFL. Yesterday, all public plays won again. Because I keep riding the system and I keep trying my best to ride it. Vikings yesterday ripped my heart out. I wasn't going to tell Jimmy that in our group chat, but I had a lot of money on the Vikings. Now, again, that a lot of money was nullified by my first touchdown betting. But saying that, we got a big night ahead of ourselves. The poll, by the way, right now, 86 votes, 53% letting it ride.
I'm glad people have a brain.
You guys know, the biggest bet I've ever won, it happened in 2022 or 2021, and it was a season-long NFL
Win totals?
division winner parlay.
Wow.
20 to win 1,200 was the wager. I went to Hollywood Casino and had a printed ticket for it, and I kept it in my wallet for a whole year, and it won $1,200. This would be The largest wager I've ever won
I'm not bringing you positive, right?
at 1,300.
Your plus money lifetime
For this, no.
afterwards.
For the other one, I think so. The other one, I'd be pretty damn. The other one, the other one I would be, but I don't know. Listen. We're gonna try. I'm gonna put some feelers out. I'm gonna milk this as long as I can.
I might bet on every other Raven.
That's so. Sean brings up a point
To help you.
Well, that's okay. So I have a couple schools of thoughts, and I'll let you guys help me out here. One of my plans was I was gonna let it ride, and then use the money I won from the other one and just sprinkle first touchdown parlays everywhere. But that didn't seem helpful.
Not at all.
So I'm not going to do that. Sean Connor brings up the point that I'm very, very scared of. What if Henry tweaks a hammy during warmups?
And it voids it, then you just win the 3 legs if he doesn't play.
If he doesn't play, but if he's
but
playing
if he's
hurt.
not, like if he's not in, I see. We would still get goals.
That's the part where I'm scared. The other part that I'm scared is I mentioned it. I should cash it then donate to Kinner Unemployment. LOL, Colton. The other thing is,
what I said was
if
the Eagles win the coin flip, your cash out is doubling.
well,
Or
that's
not
what-
Eagles.
I think
Ravens.
they're gonna. I don't think they'd allow me to cash out at that point.
Oh, you think once the
I
game,
think
once the coin flip starts,
I think
it'll
once
be
the coin
done?
flip starts, it's over.
I see.
Here's the thing: Bucks have scored scored first 5 out of 6 games. Henry has scored first 4 out of 6 games. So it's what is it? A movable object meets unstoppable force.
That's right.
So that's what we're going up against tonight.
All right, let me see if I can help with that.
If anybody has stats, that would be helpful.
Let me see if I can help with that statistic.
Because I'm not going to lie, this is getting close.
All right.
If it were to win, this would be close to matching my net worth.
I can help you.
Sure.
What games did they not score first in? The Buccaneers. Do you know?
The Broncos game, and it was a rushing touchdown.
They did not score first in the Broncos game, you're saying?
Correct. The Broncos scored first in that game. It was a Bo Nix.
Gotcha.
Trust me, I've looked up all this.
Saints defense, bad. Falcons defense, good. Eagles defense, good. Lions defense, good. Commanders defense, bad. Ravens defense, good. So we just need to figure out if the Buccaneers are scoring first against the 3 good defenses.
Yeah.
Regardless of the other 3 games.
Correct. But
Right?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but here's another stat for you. Ready for this?
Okay.
Chris Godwin and Mike Evans have been the first touchdown scorers on all of their first touchdowns.
Counterpoint. How many of those first touchdowns came on the Buccaneers' first drive? Because if it came on like their 3rd drive of the game and the other team's just inept, I have more faith in Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Like here, I'm looking at they scored the first touchdown in the game against the Lions. It came with 2.5 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Personally, the one I sent you, that text, that's the one that I think if you're going to like hedge your bet, even though it's not a hedge, I would do that. It's the first drive, Baltimore touchdown score, and it's like Derrick Henry plus 650 or something like that. That way you can avoid, if the Buccaneers do win the coin toss, go down and score, at least you know like the first drive, you have a chance that Derrick Henry scores the first touchdown.
I want him to take, if he's trying to hedge,
A different player.
no. I think he should just take first score of the game, Buccaneers touchdown. And then the only way you lose is if another Raven scores, which I feel like is a lot easier to swallow. It's still a big window. I get that. I'm just saying.
I think it's easier to swallow if the Tampa Bay Bucks go down, march down, and score first.
Yeah.
Because
The worst
what would-
possible loss is cashing out and Henry scoring.
100%. The second worst loss would be at the 1-yard line, Lamar Jackson sneak. That would destroy me.
No, it would not. That would not be second worst. Second worst would be Justice Hill. at
Or
the
just
1 yard
okay,
line.
you're right.
Using a different running back would be worse.
Justice Hill
Derrick
would be the
Henry not
worst.
even in the game.
I don't know. I just don't know. I've been battling it, and we'll see what happens. But I don't want to spend this whole show talking about this.
Field goal would not ruin the bet.
Field goal would not
Field
ruin
goal
it.
has nothing to do with it.
Field goals, they could be 3-3, 6-6, 9-9, 12
21-21.
It could be
7 field goals a pop.
7 field goals apiece, and they could just keep kicking until the sun burns out. I guess I could root for. What happens if? I think I would lose the bet if no touchdowns are scored.
Correct.
Right?
Because that is an option.
Okay, so that's actually the worst one.
I don't think so.
I think that's actually the worst.
I don't think so, because if you go this whole game 6-6, 9-9 overtime,
Yeah.
no touchdowns,
Yeah.
you're a part of history.
Yeah. Colton Melman has a point. Bucks are letting up the second most rushing yards to the quarterback. That would hurt. That would suck. I know you're saying Justice
That
Hill.
would suck if it was under like 5 yards. If Lamar scrambles for like a 45-yard touchdown,
Yeah.
what are you mad about?
Yeah. Sean Connor, another point is there could be 8 first touchdown scores tonight. There's certainly more first touchdown scores available tonight than most games, just because of the way the Bucks offense runs with 3 running backs and 5 receivers, and the way the Ravens operate with 3 running backs and a rushing quarterback. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but
Though my least favorite idea is cashing out and rebetting some of it.
but that's what I would do. I would absolutely
Either take the money or don't.
If I cash out, I'm absolutely putting like 500 of it on Derrick Henry.
Then I don't think it should be Derrick Henry then. I think you should pick someone else.
Really?
Yes. No question about that, in my opinion. If I cashed it out, I would pick someone else.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, if I press cash out, I no longer think Derrick Henry is going to score the first touchdown of the game. Otherwise, I'm not cashing out.
Yeah. Can I see what it's at right now?
Yeah, you got to check.
Because they've been fluctuating this cash out. So it's been 1,300, it's been 1,000. Let me see what it's at right now. They've been changing it, it seems like every 10 minutes. So it could have gone down. So let's see if this changes your guys' mind. Okay, so it's gone down. The cash out
Is
they
it
gave
below 1,000 now?
No, it's still 1,000.
Okay.
It's so what right now we're looking at 1,100 instead of 1,300. It's now 1,100. Does that change anybody's decision? Because I haven't looked since the start of the show. It's now 1,100.
No, I mean that number's not even close to what I would consider cashing out for.
If it was 2,000, would you cash out?
No, I
2,000
would start thinking about cashing out a parlay at like 5.
Yeah.
Like $1,000, would it be nice? Yeah, I'd probably enjoy it for a weekend, and then it's like drinks. That's not that much money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. $7,000 significantly changes.
If it was a cash out for $7,000, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
I'm saying I wouldn't for this. Not this split. $7,000 is way, way bigger.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And Sean sent a nice email to me. He gave me the what I should do. And he said cash out, take it, $8 investment for $1,300. You rarely see that. Now $1,100 to be fair. But
will you ever have more value than 8 to win 7,000 on Derrick Henry first touchdown?
No. And no. The issue is I cashed out a 1 and I look like a fool because of it.
Fool.
I don't know if I can do it again. Fool me once, shame on me.
The other thing is, if Derrick Henry doesn't score tonight,
Yeah.
you are still up hundreds of dollars on this first touchdown experiment.
Sure. 100% I am.
Like, if this was the only bet you had, I think I'm much more receptive to cashing out.
Yeah.
But since you already are up more money than you expected to be up this weekend, I would say let it ride.
Yeah. I mean, Mark Fetters asks a good question. How bad do you need the money? I don't know what needing the money would be because I don't.
Needing the money is you're not spending it on fun. You're getting the money and you're spending it on bills.
If I were to cash this out,
fixing your car.
If I were to cash this out, it doesn't really change anything. I mean, it's a lot of money. I'm not going to say $1,000 isn't a lot of money.
Staying in the DraftKings.
But a lot of it's going to stay in the DraftKings. So,
7,000 a lot. More comes out of the DraftKings with the 7,000 than the cash out.
1,000,000%. So that's the other part of it. Colin says let it ride. Molly says cash out at 5K. If there was a 5K option, I'd hit that button immediately. Nick Kirby says, what did Nick Kirby say? He rarely cashes out of bets. That's a lie. Didn't you cash out when we went out?
I thought he was the cash out guy.
I thought you were the cash out king. But I also would never in a million years bet a first touchdown unless there was some big promo, so I'm not really sure what to do here. I just think if it's the odds on, like if this was a wide receiver, like if I had Zay Flowers, I would not let this ride. This is over.
If I had any running back other than Derrick Henry, I would be much more receptive to cashing this out.
My fear is that the Ravens are going to get inside the 10, and they're going to do some nonsense with Lamar, and he's going to score. But Out of the 21 touchdowns the Baltimore Ravens have scored this season, 8 have been Derrick Henry.
It's a good stat.
He's had 4 touchdowns alone that have been the first of the game.
All right, here's something you can keep an eye on.
Could you imagine? And this is the other part of it is I do kind of want to do it for content. I do want to kind of see my reaction live to winning $7,000. Could you imagine the Bills game when Derrick Henry busted one off for 75 yards? Could you imagine my reaction?
Yeah.
For 7,000 that on that play?
Something that I think we keep an eye on and make the decision on cashing out maybe exclusively based on this.
Okay.
Vita Vea didn't practice yesterday and is questionable.
All right.
If Vita Vea is in the middle of that defense, I feel a lot worse about it. If he's not in there, why would you not run the ball with Henry up the gut if you get close?
Yeah.
If Vita Vea is out, you cannot cash out. Cannot cash out. If he's playing, then it reopens the door.
We'll see, man. It's gonna be a long couple hours.
8:20 feels so far away.
It feels impossible. It feels impossible to stay like.
At what point in?
Here comes Mouse. Mouse is gonna maybe give me some clarity here, unless he's coming in here to do something else. But I don't know.
How late in the game with no touchdown?
The first cash out kills this. First and to be clear to everybody, if I would have cashed this out already, I would have been the first one to cash it out if I didn't already cash out another first touchdown parlay for more money.
Right.
That's the issue.
Can't double cash out.
I don't think you should let what you did earlier guide your decision. That's a
Really?
Oh yeah, I think that's a decision that you goofed up on. Like you made the wrong decision there. Let's not let that affect your next decision. Like
But it's
that's
the same
done. That's
two
in the
options.
past. That's in the past. That's in the past.
That's like picking A and B and picking A and getting it wrong, and then getting asked the same exact question and saying, "Well, I'm going to pick A again." You're still wrong.
no.
Cashing out's always wrong.
It was in this specific scenario, but
The worst possible loss is cashing out and Derrick Henry scoring. That is the worst possible loss.
No, so that's what your decision comes down to, in my opinion. Is there are 3 outcomes, right? You've already made money, so the 3 outcomes are that you let it ride, and it doesn't hit. So
correct.
So that's option number 1. Where I don't know how much if you've explained all the numbers. Have you
I've explained
Okay,
the
we
numbers.
did.
So in that scenario where you let it ride and it misses, you bet $18 and you won $600. Still, if I told you before you made that bet that was the outcome, I mean, you're
Very happy.
Very, very happy. The second outcome is that you cash out and you bet $18 to win $1,800 or whatever it is.
That's pretty good.
Once again, great.
I told
and
him
then
he
the
has
third
to pick
option
someone else.
is if you write it and it wins. Obviously, then you bet $18 and won 7.6 or whatever it is. So those are the 3 outcomes. So you've got to ask yourself, which feels worse? Which would feel worse to you? Letting it ride and watching someone else score. Right? That's one thing. Or cashing out, taking your money, and then watching Derrick Henry score. Which would feel worse to you? And that's the only question you got to ask yourself. To me, and this is where I'm once again, I don't want to give you advice.
If this was you, what would you do right now?
If this was me,
and but the whole scenario played out.
The same thing that I just told you, where there's 2 options. The 2 things that you've got to ask yourself: which feels worse? Watching Derrick Henry score, knowing you cashed out for $2,000 or whatever the total money that you'd win. No, it's $2,000 total is what he'd profit.
Oh, the first
it's
one,
1.8 or whatever. Yeah. It would feel worse to me to watch someone else score and knowing that I lost $1,000.
But you lost $5,000 on Derrick Henry scoring.
And
Yeah.
you lost a hell of a lot
But
more
I
because
still
of the
won
other cash out.
$2,000. Like I still won $2,000. So like it would feel much worse to me watching anybody else score on that field. And this is what you're asking yourself is what would feel worse. To me, it would feel worse watching anybody else score knowing I let it ride than if I cashed out. I probably wouldn't even watch the game, to be honest. Like if I cash out, I'm just not watching the game. I'm not going to worry about it.
So if you cash out,
The one thing you cannot do
is cash out than hedge.
I told him he needs to bet on someone else.
You told wait. You told so you're not. You're
You
saying
cannot cash out and bet on Derrick Henry.
You can't, because then if you're talking value, you've lost everything. Like you've lost so much value on everything.
You cannot press the cash out if you think Derrick Henry is going to score the first touchdown tonight. So as soon as you cash out, you have to no longer believe that he's going to score the first touchdown, in which case you bet on someone else. And put enough money on it if you're going to do that you have a lot of fun watching the first touchdown of a different play.
I think if you cash out,
you just don't bet anything.
you don't bet. I mean, you could bet on the game. I just wouldn't bet a first touchdown.
that's the first thing I would do.
I would just avoid the thing
That's the first thing I would do.
entirety. Like I just don't want to.
What about a last
I
touchdown?
don't. If you cash out, you've got to disassociate your heart from that bet
Yeah.
entirely. You've got to just be like, all right, I'm punting on this bet. I'm done. But like I said, the only two questions you've got to ask yourself is, in this hypothetical, what feels worse? Letting it ride and watching anybody else score, or cashing out and watching Derrick Henry score? To me, and this is where I'm just telling you, I'd cash out.
if you had done what I did and you already had made the same
Because like I said,
choices
I
along
don't think you can let the last decision affect this decision. But like I said, for me, it'd feel worse to watch anybody else score knowing I lost $1,000 than if I cashed out. Because
$8.
what?
You only lost $8.
No, you lost that $1,000 is his money. That's his money.
See, I totally disagree.
They're giving it to
But
you.
you don't take it yet.
It's your money. Like that's yours. Like that is your money.
Once you click on it.
No, it's yours. Like they're giving it to you.
But you have to take it.
Right.
And until you take it, it's
so
not
it's
your money.
there. It's there.
I think you are glossing over the fact that you could lose $5,000 on Derrick Henry scoring a touchdown.
That's what I'm telling you is like I am
That would ravage me.
I'm okay with that. I am not. It would hurt me way more to watch anybody else score.
Yeah.
Knowing I lost $1,000 than watching Derrick Henry score after I cashed out. Because if I cashed out, I got $2,000 in the bank from this $18 bet.
I
got $2,000 in the bank for this $18 bet.
I don't think I'd ever recover from cashing out and Derrick Henry scoring. Ever.
That's where I'm
Ever.
at. I would be 1,000,000% on your side. I would have already cashed it out had I not done it with the other one and lost, because that cash out was going to be $3,000-$4,000.
I would say it'd be like 2.5 or something like that. Based on what you're getting now, you're getting about 1/6 of the total bet. So if that bet was going to win $12,000, you'd be getting about 2 to 2.5 is what you'd be getting. If you base it off the exact same cash out that they're currently offering you, you'd be getting 2 to 5. Which then that decision is easy. Did you make both bets before everything started?
Yeah.
So they made them in the morning. If you wouldn't have cashed out of that, yeah, you would just cash out of the 2.5 and let the $7,000 one ride.
Correct.
That's okay. I'd be cool with that. But like I said, I don't think you can let the previous decision. You goofed up. You goofed up on that decision. You made you made a judgment call. You said, hey, I want this $200. Like if Kyron doesn't score, this thing's all kaput anyways, and he did. You made the wrong decision there. It's in the past. You can't let it guide your next decision.
But insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
We'll see.
Cash this one out.
I got a long way to go till kickoff. I'll have my decision made at some point later tonight.
Will you inform the people before kickoff?
Yeah. I'll make a tweet about it and I'll see. I'll see what I can do. But cashing out of the other one kills me. I was with Zach watching football yesterday, and I knew this situation was playing out, and Zach's like, Elliot, you know me. Well, I don't really cash out, but for this scenario, I think I might cash out. I'm like, all right, so let's just cash out, and I'll cash out my $270, and I'll put $70 on Kyron first, and if it doesn't hit, then I have $200 richer, and I feel great about myself. And obviously, if it doesn't, or if Kyron scores, I'm gonna have a problem. And we went to a bar, and it hit, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? We'll see.
What have I done?
We'll see. If I did ride,
like I said, the only two questions you've got to ask yourself are which are you more comfortable happening? Are you more comfortable with letting it ride and watching anybody else score, or are you more comfortable with cashing out and then letting Derrick Henry score, knowing you left $5,000 on the table?
Yeah, we'll see. Final poll, 95 votes. Derrick Henry, 52%, letting it ride. 48%.
There we go.
The fact that you've won, the fact that you've already won $600 does add nuance to this.
That's
what I'm saying.
That's
That's
why
what I'm
I think it's a no-brainer.
That adds nuance to this because like you've already made out like
18 to win 600.
You've already made out like a bandit. Like you've already made a lot of money on this $18 bet. But you've also got
lost.
sitting right there $18 to win $2,000. Like that's there too. Or $1,800, whatever it is total.
I think I'm with Jacob more. I'm starting to side more with Jacob that I'd really not like myself if I cashed out. Because we talk about this so much, so it's like we'll see.
And we're talking about this like it's like stocks and bonds and comparing numbers as if it's not sports betting.
Yeah,
like
I know.
we're betting on a first touchdown score. It's
silly.
It's all what if.
It's silly. I'll tell you what. The biggest issue with all of this now is I'm going to do this every week.
You got the best value in a primetime football game at plus what?
Correct.
8 to win 7,000 on Derrick Henry to score the first touchdown?
You're 100% right.
That is another way of looking at it. Yeah.
You'll never get a bet with this much value ever again.
I'm more mad at my friends for all cashing out and making this decision.
They would be dead to me.
They're all done.
All three of them cashed out.
They cashed out early last night.
Would be dead to me.
All of them.
I'd never place a parlay with them again.
And that's where it's like I told him
Jacob's way more of a gambler than I am.
Yeah.
Like, and like I said, like everyone's putting in their own opinions. Like there's all ways to think about this differently. I don't know. It's that's why every time I like put in my 2 cents, I've done a bad job at it, but I've tried to not sway you anyway. Like I'm just giving you my thoughts.
the 1,200 in my pocket.
I'm trying not to be like definitive in my opinions. We're like, I feel like you're an idiot if you do this, or I feel like this is the wrong call. I'm trying to avoid that conversation because I want you to make your own decision and be okay with it.
I feel like the people with houses and cars and wives and families are much more
very different.
Maybe take the $1,200 and the people that
that's called debt.
aren't.
That's called debt.
But that's what I mean. Like it's like all of us, I was originally like, why would you ever cash out? And then hear everyone,
You know what's funny is like when I was 23 and gambling.
Yeah.
A lot. I would like when I would have bets that would like parlay in the final leg to win. Like I've bet a lot. I've never even come close to. I've come close to winning $1,000 one time. I had like a 6-leg college basketball parlay, and it came down to a UCLA under, and I let that ride.
Yeah.
But also, the leg that was before it ended after the UCLA game started, so I couldn't hedge or anything like that. And it's also you can't hedge like a first touchdown bet. Like you literally can't hedge it.
Yeah.
But when I was 23 and I'd have these big bets, I would think about like, ooh, what am I going to buy? What nice toy am I going to buy? What trip am I going to buy? When I think about you cashing out for $1,000, the first thing I think of is like, ooh, what bill can I pay off early?
Yeah.
Like it's literally like, it's like, oh, I could make a double car payment, or I could pay an extra on my mortgage this month to help me out 10 years down the line.
Yeah.
Like this pays for.
I was just like, that's 15
like
beers.
4 student loan. This is like 4 student loan payments.
That's big. But how many student loan payments is 7,000?
Well, the 7,000 we're using on something.
See, that's the other thing though.
So that's
1,000 will go to the stuff he needs to spend it on. The 7,000, none of that is going to stuff he needs.
Well, I wouldn't say none of it, but it's.
That's going to vacation.
I will say the new car that Ellie's been talking about for a long time. Like I can buy a new car right now. I could. But I haven't just because I like to see my savings build up. I wanted to climb it a little bit. This gives me the freedom to get a new car.
You should tweet.
There's no doubt about it.
You should tweet and see if anyone is willing to buy it from you for $2,000.
That's interesting. Do you think that would work?
Someone will buy the ticket from him for $2,000.
Do you think?
So yeah, whatever.
He's getting 1,000 cash out right now.
Is that legal?
Yeah, it's legal.
You've got to make it to where the person buying it's getting value. So, like, you can't just do it for the exact same odds that a sports book, because why would the dude just not?
Yeah.
Why would the dude just not place the bet himself?
Well, you're giving him Derrick Henry at, like, double odds, and Derrick Henry's only plus 450.
So, yeah, so if you got $2,000, if you got $2,000 plus 4.5, is 10 grand or something like that, right? Like that's $9,000.
So it would be like.
So you'd have to be selling it for like $1,500.
So it'd be like a $500.
You'd have to give
difference.
value to the buyer.
So it could be like a $500 difference. Or you get an idiot that'll pay you like $3,000.
Yeah, like I said,
instead of
you've
just placing the bet.
It sucks because if the cash out was 2,000, I would have cashed it out.
It's plus 400 now, by the way, not 450.
Derrick Henry?
Yeah,
That helps you trying to sell it.
and your cash out. Should.
I don't know, man. So it's what's gonna happen?
Selling the ticket would be hilarious because
would-
Derrick Henry scores. You just
Where-
Venmo him the
it
2,000
would be
back.
my-
See, that's
You're
where
like, never mind.
That's where the guys that want to cash out, a guy like me that would cash out, is I'm pretty good at disassociating myself from what like I can 100% live with watching Derrick Henry score that first touchdown. It sounds like you guys can't, so that's where it's hard. Like that's why I can cash out is because I'll just be like, I don't care if Derrick Henry scores. Like I'm done with this.
The
I'm
first
washing my
thing I
hands of
thought
this.
when Kyron Williams scored that touchdown wasn't about the parlay you had open. It was about the one you cashed out. And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh
That's
my
what I thought of, too.
God.
That's what I
if
thought of,
that's the
too.
first thing you thought of in that situation, then you can't cash this out. If you cashed that out for $600, Kyron Williams scored, and the first thing you thought was, damn it.
But I'm also a very unlucky person. What happens? Unlucky in terms of gambling, by the way, so it's relative. I'm very lucky in terms of everything else. But when it comes to like winning, like I've never won split the pot, never been close to a raffle.
That's
Like
what I mean.
I've never been any close to anything ever. This is the closest I've been to winning anything ever. The biggest bet I ever won, Jacob asked me about it. It was $1,200 NFL division winner. I went to a casino, had a printed ticket, went out and cashed it. That happened 3 years ago. I've been somewhat close a couple times, but I've never eclipsed that number. This would be right at the number, and it would be a cash out.
Your cash out's your biggest win ever, like right there.
Yeah.
Right there. So like he's already had his biggest win ever.
But you would never, ever say this if someone asked for your biggest win.
Correct.
Ever.
Let me ask you guys this.
Well, you would if Derrick Henry doesn't score.
I'm not asking. I'm
No,
not.
if you cash this out and Derrick Henry doesn't score, this does not count as your biggest win. You cashed out.
How is that not a win?
You didn't win the bet. Your
You
parlay
won
lost.
$1,100
No,
on
you
a
took a cash out. You didn't win. There's a big difference between winning a bet and taking a cash out. I would not count a cash out as my biggest win. No way. Yeah, no way.
I would.
That logic doesn't
wouldn't.
track at all to
I
me.
wouldn't. I also wouldn't consider cashing out because if I place a parlay, I think the parlay's going to hit. Like that's the rationale. When I
know that logic.
I would
in my
never
brain,
count a
that
cash out as a
logic,
win.
and this is where I talked about last week
Yeah.
about like when we argue things and with you and like when you have a side.
I feel like that makes sense.
I
don't count a quote tweet as a bigger tweet than a normal tweet if the numbers are different. Like if you quote tweet something and it goes huge, I still think a tweet
I
with
quote tweeted
slightly
something that
less
went huge,
numbers
too.
that you did yourself is bigger. Winning a bet for less money is way bigger than taking a cash out for a little bit more.
I gamble to win money.
See, I don't gamble to win money.
To win money. So like if I bet $10 and the money that's coming back from that bet is $1,100, $1,200, I won $1,200. It's just like that's where I'm at. You're telling me I didn't win that money? You're telling me I didn't win that money?
You have the
I didn't
money. They gave you the money.
So when you ask what's your biggest win, I would say this $1,200 bet.
You'd have to immediately follow it up with it was a cash out.
I would immediately say that, especially if Derrick Henry doesn't score.
And then I'd call you a loser. For cashing out a first touchdown bet like that.
What do you
Like,
got? Let me ask you.
dude, there's no way.
Let me ask you guys this. I know what you would do if you were in my situation.
Yep, you know what I would do.
I know what you would do. I know what you would do, and I know what you would do. You've all told me that. What do you want? What would you want me to do right now?
I kind of want you to cash out.
You want me to cash out?
Kind of.
Because he wants to see the world burn. Because he wants why he wants.
I want him to cash out and Derrick Henry to score really bad.
Correct.
Well,
correct.
Really
and
bad.
to be clear, what's going to happen?
Jacob's a bad human being.
And to be clear, what's going to happen is if I cash this out, I will be putting $500 on it. I know what you guys have said on that.
No.
I will, but I would.
He's going to though.
I would be. There's nothing. There's no force on
can't
this
stop
planet.
him from doing that.
There's no force on this planet that would stop me from not putting 500 on it.
So
Yes!
if that's your option, I want you to let it ride. If now that you are giving me that,
It's not even a hedge.
Because
It's not a hedge.
That's a terrible move.
You're not hedging
That's
anything.
All the
But
value
how
that
is
you
it-
just won.
But I agree.
You do your old trick and you just bet 5.
$75 on
so
6 scores.
So we were talking again. We were talking in this group chat all last night about it.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's what they all did. Everyone that cashed out has money on Henry.
That's a dumb move. Like
Crazy.
your options are clear as day. You cash out and you don't watch the game, and don't worry about it.
Don't watch the game at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And you take your $2,000 that you won total on this bet to the bank, or you let it ride. You cannot cash out and hedge. You cannot cash out and hedge.
But it's not even hedging, is it? It's not even hedging.
Well, yeah. No.
What are you hedging?
Yeah, correct. Then you're just making a bad bet.
You're just betting.
Then you're just making a really bad bet.
But that's what I would do. And there's no force on this planet that would stop me.
Chase kind of figured it out, though. Cash out and bet Henry last touchdown. Plus 800.
Casey sent me something during the show, and it would be a sicko bet.
Oh, no. What is it?
It was, first drive touchdown score? Or Ravens first drive?
Ravens first drive touchdown.
Which would be a sicko. It would be sick.
You should take Buccaneers first score touchdown. First score of the game, Buccaneers touchdown.
Okay, well that's significantly less value. But that bet that I'm talking about at least covers you from all the other possibilities of Buccaneers scoring.
But that's
at least at that point.
First drive of the game, first score of the game, Bucks touchdown would be more value.
No. So what I'm saying is.
Casey's mic's off. Sorry.
So.
Hang on.
I sent him. What I sent Elliot was Baltimore first drive touchdown scores, Derrick Henry plus 650. If you were to just bet Buccaneers to score the first touchdown of the game.
But you still lose then if any other player on Baltimore scores a touchdown.
In the first drive?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. But you're also you're giving yourself wiggle room if the Buccaneers get the coin flip and go down and score the first touchdown.
If you're going to let it ride,
I see now.
To where I just told you, if you're going to cash out, if your plan is I'm going to cash out and then place a large wager on Derrick Henry to score the first touchdown, just fucking let it ride.
Okay.
Because then you're losing all the value that you get from that.
Yeah.
If you're going to let it ride and you want to bet other people to score the first touchdown, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with you.
That might not be bad.
I'm cool with you taking out from your $600 bet.
Okay, but how much does it then kill you if you bet on 5 first touchdown scorers with this $7,000 that you're going to win or whatever, and Charlie Kolar scores the first touchdown?
How much?
Yeah, that would be a disaster.
That would be way worse.
Charlie Jones. Well, I mean,
Charlie Jones. Charlie Jones.
How much are you willing to bet right now without cashing out?
What do you mean? What do you
like
mean?
on
today,
supplemental first touchdown bets?
Yeah, like if you wanted to just cover yourself right now, are you willing to bet $100 live on the first touchdown score? Like whoever wins the coin toss, you just get on your DraftKings or whatever.
Yeah.
So $100.
What you should, honestly,
you would win $1,000 probably off the first drive.
But you'd have to get it right.
Yeah, you'd have to get it right, but then you're at least.
The way you could pseudo hedge, and it's not even a hedge because someone else on the Ravens can score.
I think a first touchdown bet's hedge proof for what it's worth.
I think you could.
That's why it's a bad bet, by the way, from the books, because it doesn't give you another side.
The way you could kind of hedge it is live. If the Buccaneers win the toss, you take them to score on that drive, and then you only have to worry about other Ravens.
Yeah,
what I mean?
I think where I'm at, I think I'm not placing any more bets on this game. I think if I were you, I'm either cashing out or I'm letting it ride, and that's the only thing I got today. That's the only thing, because I don't want to be thinking about a billion different things.
Where are you leaning right now?
If the cash out continues to drop, I'm letting it ride.
What does it have to be out for you to not even tell us and just hit the cash out?
1,500. 1,500 or 2,000. They're not going to offer me 2,000. Anything over 1,500 is when
No, not even talking about it.
Yeah, probably. It's at that point.
I don't care what you do unless you cash out and
bet on
Derrick.
But I will. But I will.
You cannot do that. I'm telling you right now, you absolutely cannot do that. If you're doing that because you don't want to watch Derrick Henry waltz into the end zone to score, then you just got to let him ride. But you absolutely cannot. This is the only advice that I've given you. Advice is telling you, do not cash out and bet Derrick Henry. You cannot do that.
Elliot, I do have.
Because then you lose all the value that you have is gone.
Yeah.
The only thing that you have in this parlay is value.
Yeah.
So I do have a question. Are you going to cash out when the Baltimore Ravens win the coin toss? And
I don't think
they're in
He
the
doesn't
red
think that's
zone?
going to be
I
allowed.
don't think that's going to be an option. I've been
option?
hearing that, and I don't think they will let me cash out once that game.
Once the game starts?
Once they're on the field, once the broadcast starts, I don't see a world where it happens.
What if? I'm trying to think of ways to hedge this.
You can't. It's a first touchdown bet. Like, they don't have an opposite side. You can't. Like, if there was a way to like bet Derrick Henry doesn't score the first touchdown,
Yeah,
the odds would be terrible.
minus, yeah.
But like, that's the only way that'd be the only way that it'd work. But
When
it
do you
doesn't.
think they're going to close the cash out? How quickly before the game?
They will let that thing go up until 8
Coin
o'clock.
toss?
I bet 8 o'clock is when I have to have a decision by. I can't be flirting with it. I have to have my decision 15 minutes before kick. I have to. It's at 8:15, right?
I think you got to move that line up, because what happens if you finally talk yourself into cashing out and then you go check and it's locked?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've told Elliot.
I think you got to pick by like 5.
Mousecock put this in the chat. I told Elliot this morning. I was like, you got to go live. You got to live stream. Just watch this.
That's what I'm thinking.
No, you got. Yeah, I think you got to set up some home system, and you're just sitting there watching it by yourself. Does your family know about this?
They know now. They didn't know about it, but they know now.
Are they so they're watching and they're listening to you talk through this?
Yeah.
Have you gotten text from them?
I have.
And
They're fine with it. Because I do think being up $600
Correct.
makes this different.
Correct.
It changes everything.
If I didn't cash out of the other one, and I didn't make the other one, and I didn't have any money, this is an easy decision. I'm cashing out. And
If the other parlay doesn't exist, then this is a very legitimate
See,
conversation in my opinion.
that's another thing that I keep trying to tell you is like I don't think you can let that other decision guide what's.
but it's
gonna
making
happen.
all of it. It's
I know it is.
It's-
but
it's-
you can't.
it's destroying.
that
How
decision's
can you?
done. That decision is
When
done.
you called me yesterday, I was in a bad place. I was like,
Yeah, I was gonna say I called you immediately after I saw Kyron Williams scored. Wasn't even watching the game. I just like from other group texts, they just were texting Kyron, and I was like, oh. So I looked at it, saw it that he scored, and I called you immediately. And I was expecting
Happiness.
what I expected in my brain when it was. I was like, oh man, it's gonna sound like the slot machines going off. Another winner. That's what I expected to hear it sound like. And Elliot sounded like he was like there was an intruder in the house, and he was like trying to not give away his location. He's like, hey, I'm at a really loud location right now, and I'll text you what I did. I'll text you what I did to you. And I was just like, not what I was expecting. I was like, dude, this is awesome. And he's just like, no, not what I was expecting.
Zach looked at me when we saw it because Kareem Hunt got the third leg of the other one. They both happened at the same exact time.
Yeah.
The same exact time. I'm talking within a 35 seconds of each other. And when the other one happened, Zach just looked at me and was like, oh boy. Because he was the one. I mean, I'm not going to blame Zach. But
No,
he was
we are blaming Zach.
But he was like, be smart, take $270. I'm so mad about that one. I'm going to lose sleep over it forever.
And
So
that's
I'm-
why I don't think he can cash this out.
That's fair.
But it's a long day. I'll have a decision made at some point. I will say,
I think it needs to be like 7 o'clock at the
if
latest.
I-
The more I'm hearing you talk about this, I think that for your own mental well-being,
He's gonna be sick.
You've got to let it ride. Like I'm okay with disassociating. Like I can take the money and disassociate myself from that game forever. Won't even care about the outcome. In fact, I'll probably won't even talk about like, yeah, I had a chance to win $7,000, but I still won 2.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I'm cool with that. It sounds very evidently to me like you can't do that. So if that's the case, now I'm giving advice. If that's the case, if you cannot mentally do that, if you cannot mentally go like, all right, I know Derrick Henry scored. I left $5,000 on the table, but I still won $2,000 total from this bet. If I can do that, it doesn't sound like you can.
if I let it ride, I will live stream. I might go. Honestly, I might go to Eli's at Casey's and just be with. I'll just be there and I'll just sit there and I'll have an objective. I have to turn off my phone, and that would be miserable. But yeah, I'll have a decision made at some point today. I'll have a decision made probably by 5 o'clock.
If you let it ride, no cash out, no hedge, nothing. If you let it ride and it loses, I will Venmo you $8. I will cover the loss.
So this is where I disagree with that sentiment. Because he's not losing $8. He's not losing $8.
This is his best argument against
I don't
me.
like this
He's not,
argument
'cause
at all.
that's his money. That's $1,100. That's his.
Craig argued this too. If you look up your car online and Carvana says they'll give you $1,200 if you click a button, is that your money?
Well, that's a much different thing because I need to fucking drive. Oh, this isn't box lunch.
That's all right.
But I need to drive, so that's a much different argument. Yeah, my house is worth $350,000. If I can,
It's
I can call
not
somebody-
his money.
Yes, it is.
It's not until he takes it.
What I'm telling you is that they are giving it to him, and he doesn't have to change any facet of his life. He doesn't have to move.
He has to
and get a
give
new car.
up.
See, that's where the bad
He has to
argument.
give up.
That's where the bad argument is if
I
I'm
think it's a pretty
taking
good
that
argument.
cash out from Carvana, I have to get a new car. I have to do something changing with my life. Nothing changes if he takes this cash out.
He has to pray that he eventually gets back to a point where he can get this close, which he will never get to ever again. More likely than not.
And that's where you're doing like I think it's a very misleading thing. You're like, I'll send you $8 to making it sound like he's only got $8 at stake.
It
here.
is all he has at stake.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
he has
is.
$1,100 if he cashes out.
I don't
That's
agree.
There for him. That's
They're
there for
they're
him.
giving you $1,100 so that he gives up the chance at $7,200.
I understand why they're giving up the money. Yeah, I understand that you're losing value by taking that cash out, but that's also in your pocket now.
I very, very strongly
There's
believe he has
three
$8
outcomes.
on this bet.
There's three outcomes to this. There's three outcomes to this, right? It's you win $600, you let it ride, he doesn't score, and you won $600 on this bet. Outcome 2 is you cash out and you won $2,000 on this $18. Option 3 is you won $7,600 on this $18. There's not an outcome where you lost $8. He's already up $600.
Well, but the other one, the parlay doesn't matter.
I also just checked.
Is it down?
It's up.
Oh, it's up to what?
It's over 1,300 now.
Oh my god!
Like I said earlier,
$600.
Like I said earlier,
Reed's gonna be so pissed when you have a $650 bet on Derrick Henry to score the first
It's
touchdown.
it's 1,350.
Reed's gonna be
that's-
so mad.
the more I'm talking to you about this, I don't want you to cash. I would cash out personally. I
But
would
you
cash
wouldn't
out.
place it on Henry.
But yeah, you can't do two things. I don't think you can do the two things that make cashing out a sensible thing, which is not hedging, not putting more money on Derrick Henry. You absolutely cannot do that. If you're gonna bet Derrick Henry,
You can't put more on him. You don't think?
I have to, Reed. You know I have to.
You absolutely okay. Then let it ride.
You're
That's
saying
it's
it's a
as
cash
simple
out.
as that.
I
Like
got you.
if you absolutely have to put money on Derrick Henry, then you've just got to let it ride because you've already won $600 on this bet.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you all for hearing me on this. This has been Box Lunch, free Box Lunch for everybody.
How do you feel?
We will. Joe Burrow says I have to cash out in the chat. So
Are you feeling? Are you getting nervous?
I feel sick.
How do you feel? Get the money out of your head. How do you feel about Derrick Henry scoring the first touchdown tonight?
I feel good. I like
Then
Derrick
let
Henry
it
to score
ride.
first. I like Derrick Henry to score first.
That should be the question.
Like I said, after talking to you more and more, I think based on where you're at, and the two things is talking to you about this, your mental well-being on this bet, you should absolutely let it ride. And the second thing is if your option is cash out, then put like $400 on Derrick Henry. That's silly as fuck. Sorry, I cussed again. That's silly as hell. That's silly as hell. You absolutely cannot.
That's what they all did. The whole group chat did that. So
You absolutely cannot do that.
all right.
The level of anger I would have, my friends, if we did a joint
We
parlay
gotta get this out.
and
Don't we have to
three
get
of
this
them
to the-
crashed
to the
out.
radio, by the way.
Yeah, that's why we're ending
Okay,
it soon.
get out.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you. I'll have a decision made by later today. God bless America.
Hang on. All right. Okay.
God bless